and Foot on the back foot.
I'm fishing on both my
Ada
RuneScape
Kaplan
accounts.
Cracks, they're too far from one another to play this one together, but at least Ada Kaplan has given away the information of where Stax is. So Crux is going to desperately try and deal with him before they can cross onto site. There's no taking a step back now. They need to go for it. Crux is low though. He did succeed with getting the first pick, but they need to take it the extra step, the extra mile. T1. They're not going to move inwards. Oh, Buzzmite. Oh, Buzzmite. Oh, man, Foot. You thought this was their turn to get back into the thing, back into the game. T1 instead answered back and now are on match points. Foot scrambling for cash.
It's a rough buy coming in. Light shields, long some
Where's the fishing?
eco rifles to come through with those Guardians, those
Okay.
Bulldogs.
Well
They
done,
do have the
RuneScape.
null command to work with. One away from that
I'm
dimensional
doing
drift
double
here
fishing
from
right now.
Zeus.
What do you mean I'm still doing RuneScape? What is
Right
that?
now,
Been over it.
what's difficult is we're also struggling
we're
to see
playing
that
this
impact
forever,
from
dude.
Yetijay that we saw on Pearl. Not really being able to
Everyone's
find
playing right now.
as much
Yeah.
value
Playing
so
right.
far
Yeah, dude.
on Ascent.
What do you mean? It's
It's a
me,
bit of a tougher
Nate,
game.
Joey.
Oh, I didn't know you.
Yeah, we invited you and you blew us off.
I played with you guys the last. Played with me.
No, you didn't play with us.
Played
You,
RuneScape.
you chose your
Canada, I played
fate.
RuneScape. I played RuneScape. You never played with me.
You chose your fate, my guy. You chose
You know,
your
getting
fate.
caught could be the end of a
We
round.
can't help you.
Zeus experienced it the round before.
You know,
You can't feel comfortable at all. This is
we
one of the
can't
worst
help
moments you can experience.
mental
Sort of a helpless
retardation.
feeling. But you know you still have a chance. And that's in your head, and they have to deal with it right now. T1 moving into the A site, information is there. Foot are unsure if they want to dedicate all of their players here.
Nick, you're supposed to give me some good Valorant
Managed to
gameplay,
draw out
man.
that null command at the very least, but time is starting to tick. Got 30 seconds
I'm just playing
left.
RuneScape. Like, I need
Cracks
something that are
still buy
entertaining.
a bit more time.
Oh, they definitely know something up here. Hunter Shuri coming
Yeah,
out,
it's
trying to see
entertaining.
if they can get the finishing blows. Mr. Fallen, that's
I
impressive.
said this is entertaining.
No damage with the third shot though. Meteor will be trying to assist Buzz in walking in. Cracks can't break through. He only have full health on him, but this just might be enough. Foot remain. Foot remain.
They did a great job installing out that choke over towards A main, buying enough time, running down the clock on T1, who tried to hold steady on that front, weren't really willing to shift their plan elsewhere on the map. And it was great investment from Foot to keep themselves in
I
this
have 30
best of
hours
three,
of
in this
experience this
final
weekend.
map of the semifinals. Again, whoever
To play for 30
wins
hours.
this
Yep,
game
15 hours of RuneScape today,
cements
15
their
hours
spot in
tomorrow.
brands up against C9.
That they do. That's what they came here to do.
How many level
This is what the fight's
99s do you
been
have?
for.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Good
5,
Won't be
5.
challenged. It's that Timmy
No, wait.
will be
1, 2, 3,
exchanged.
5, almost 6. I should have had like 12.
It's also the pressure of closing out the game, right?
Yeah.
It's not just for trying to play catch up. T1 also don't want to let go of the momentum they've built.
Shifting their approach a little bit here on the attack as well. A bit more measured, mid-control. Side of T1. See the pings going out towards bottom mid as well. Looks like they want to actually split over towards B, but there isn't that B main presence either. He's totally walked up there.
So this game was fun because it's
It's
Iron
gonna
Man.
be
We do everything
towards
ourselves.
Cat.
It's us versus the world.
Slight
You know?
exploration. Chips damage dealt on either side, but T1 take this moment, 35-second mark to break through in mid. It's a bit of an obfuscation of what they're really going for. Wait, that's a spike in the ground, 30 seconds remaining, and T1 need to make a move. They do have Sylvan on A main. An extra piece to this puzzle. Somehow Meteor has appeared to the back of the B site. He's going to break off all the rotations, but that's a prerequisite if T1 are able to make it into this A site. And they can only make that if it's a 1v3 to be won. But Izu, he's running out of time and running out of space, and there's no one there to help him. T1 might have fumbled the back a little bit there, just too much happening at once, but Foots are able to come out on top and stay strong in belief that they can come back and take things to OT.
The idea was there, right? A perfect position for Meteor, but it all hinged on the fact that the rest of T1 had to actually break through, get that plant down on A. And they're letting the clock work against them in these rounds, taking a little bit too long to actually push onto those sites. It's been a very different approach. They've slowed things down.
Push it.
Final timeout to be called here, Pablos.
See that CSGO pro match that went like 60 rounds in overtime?
Oh, really?
Like we said,
Yeah.
it's not only the pressure to catch up, but the pressure to close out the game. Sure, 3 rounds without a mistake are required by Foot, which means there's 3 opportunities for T1 to close the game. But the sooner you do it, the better you feel.
Yeah.
The longer you let it go and have the idea that Foot are coming back, the sooner overtime comes in your head. That's when mistakes start to happen more often and more often.
You just got to think about it 1 round at a time, right? That's the big thing
Why aren't you
that
playing?
all
Wait,
these
what's
players
going on?
end up saying, right? The coaches as
Check
well.
up on that fan. There's
I
a
want
help
to see. I
sign.
want to watch the finals.
Is
It says
everything all right?
semifinals.
Hope you guys are having a lovely time.
I mean, with a
Nobody.
game like this to end off semifinals, you can't not be. My eyes have to be drawn towards Foot in this round, though, because Zeus does have that dimensional drift up, and it feels like he's always had insane impact for Foot every time that ultimate comes to fruition.
Well, simple game plan for T1. It's an A split. But with less of the defenders available to them, Zeus is actually going to take the fight to them, wanting to destroy the lockdown. See if they don't find the 1 kill. But no counteraction to the KG ultimate. Had a captain getting away with his life, but T1 exchange the space.
That's the thing. Sure, might be able to secure this plant, but it should be a quick flood from Foot on the retake.
It's a strong position for Buzz to hold, but he doesn't hold it for long. Yetajay has a lockdown of his own and will be using it instantly. Sylvan awaiting for his time, wanting to deny the setup. Perhaps a lockdown as well, but T1 have only got a limited set of positions they can move into. I think their saving grace could be easy though on the defuse already. As Foot are taking the fight out in main. Izu is a little bit late to the party, and Foot win on every single end.
It's a great response from them. An awkward plant spot there as well. I love the idea from Foot. Sure, they take the space back with the lockdown coming out from Yetajay.
Investments in the Bitcoin.
But then to continue
doing pretty
forward,
well.
knowing that
Or in
they're
the
trying to deny that ability to even spam that defuse.
cryptos.
Taking full control of the
Wait,
choke
what?
point. 2 rounds now separating these teams.
Oh, holy shit! It did
From
really
overtime.
good.
And 1 round for T1
It
to
doubled
close
my
out
money.
the best of 3.
It's getting closer and closer.
I bought something
Riskier
called
and riskier.
Polkadot.
Oh my god.
It's got us all on the edge of our seats.
I'm up 98%.
Overstepped as
How
well,
much did you put in?
just a little bit.
I bought like
Gonna pull a
$100.
rotation from Foot
I
over
have
towards A. Add a little bit more support here from Ada Captain, Mr. Fallen.
When'd you
Shift
buy
over
in?
towards Tree.
More than that, I put like
Move up with
$100
them.
in. I have
All
$140.
5 players of T1
Profit.
hovering outside A lobby. Owl Drone does come
Right
out.
before the election.
Nice shuts down though.
It's a falling
So
spot.
what? I told everybody to buy
And
it.
you can expect where the captain is going to be playing. He's been playing
Yeah,
there
but I
all
didn't buy
day.
Doge.
The expectation is there. Like we said, one
You
slip
made more
up,
money if you had bought
and
Doge.
T1 can close things out
Yeah, but
right
this
here,
one's actually
right
worth
now. 2 remaining.
Oh
Crux,
good
That'd
god.
be
one
more
of the old
legit.
guard,
It's
Yetajay.
polka dot's gonna be worth it
Last
than
year's
Dogecoin.
edition. It's
Bro,
the
it's
2
worth
of them, the
$8
pair of
now.
them, against the entirety of T1.
Oh,
They
boy.
I
saw
bought
in
it for
front of them.
$4. It's $8.
Crosshair
High is
galore.
like 50. If it goes up to 50,
Everyone
that shit.
looking upon their positions. Yetajay with a
You did 13-year-old kid who made a coin and then
rug
rug pulled everyone.
But history
But,
repeats
yeah, I
itself. T1
And made another coin and rug pulled them again.
Their ticket to
They
the
made a coin called, like,
semifinals
I'm sorry, I
as
won't rug pull you this
as the
time, then you rug pull
qualification
again.
to the grand finals right now.
Incredibly done here by T1. It was a close affair on Ascent,
Okey-dokey.
exactly what we wanted to see. Unfortunate for Foot, they're not able to find that higher
50K
finish
on them.
that they were hoping for. But man,
Maybe-
was this a fun series.
He's probably gonna go to jail.
The super team
But
shows their superpowers
50K
in
on
this semi-final, cementing their place in our Red Bull Homeground 2024 Grand Final. What a series it was that gave us the answer we needed. Sadly for Foot, their trip to Berlin
drink Red Bull,
ends
Jared?
here. But Ash, they did not go down without a fight.
No, they didn't.
No.
And the thing is,
What?
Zeus looked so
a Red Bull
electric
top.
as the series went on. His
I've never
impact
had
on
Red
that
Bull.
Yoru.
Is it
It
good?
was so fun to see the set plays that Foot had on that attacking side. But once T1 ripped the momentum away, it was
Yeah, I
so
had monstered
hard
out
for
that
Foot
one
to come
time or
back
2
in.
times.
Foot take a bow.
Absolutely.
What a show. Look, there was perseverance shown in the series. And it does take a lot from a team to do that, especially in front of a crowd, especially after losing your own map pick, especially when you're playing with new additions in environments they've never experienced before. So Foot played a great game of Valorant, a great series.
This
But
is supposed to be the
for
last
them to
day of
play
the
good,
tournament.
someone else had to play even greater to win, and that was T1. Leveled up, they persevered as well, if
Yeah.
not even more, and they come away with a victory, playing against Cloud9 after this.
Let's not forget, like you just said, the perseverance was there. They had to
Let's
dust
go,
themselves off
C9.
after map 2. They had to find
that
something
one.
new. They had to find a different type of energy. And it is a different kind of energy when you clutch up a
C9's
semi-final. There's one thing
Bro, I
winning
love
map 2,
C9. C9's
but then
my
when you
favorite
lock in that
org.
position in the grand final, that's a new level of perseverance, isn't it?
It definitely is, and it was just crazy to see how momentum-based all 3 maps were in
You like
this
C9?
best of 3 series.
Yeah, I like
Typically,
C9.
you
I have
think,
their
okay,
merch
a
and shit,
13
dude.
to
I
10,
wear
maybe
it.
there was a little bit
That's
more of
weird.
that
I rep
back
them.
and forth,
I have a
but
bunch
it
of
was
Cloud9
just
stuff.
those seas
You rep
of
C9?
rounds being swept
Yeah,
away
dude. I have the
by
gun. I bought the
side.
C9 gun
And
for
I
Valorant.
gotta also give a huge shout out to Buzz and
feel like
Stacks
Rufus.
for this, because last time when we saw them in Tokyo
Say that about
last
everyone.
year, they ended their journey in semifinals.
Rufus.
That 0-2 up against a Fnatic that won the entire thing, and this time it's their turn to find a spot in Grand.
And this time, they won it all, Pablos.
They absolutely do, and Cloud9 will want it all, but it's not going to be an easy journey. It's the 3rd time Cloud9 are in the grand finals, and a very dangerous T1 has just rolled up to try and take that away from them. This has been an extremely exciting first series of the day, but semi-final. I cannot wait what is in store for us in a best-of-5 grand final.
I think what's great as well is that we were very lucky coming into this with the knowledge that no matter what, we were going to end up with a solid grand final. This one, it's tantalizing. And you mentioned Buzz and Stacks, tantalizing. Don't know where that word came from. But listen, you mentioned Buzz and Stacks. Stacks is standing by with a man who is stacked himself. Adam Savage, how are you doing?
Thank you very much, my friend. Berlin, would you please put your hands together from T1? It's Stacks! Oh, they love you. The Stacksmeister. Congratulations. T1 are into the grand final at home ground. How do the team feel right now?
It was quite struggle, honestly. They played really well for esports, so yeah, we just focusing, don't give up. Yeah, I think my teammates doing really well. They helped me a lot, so that's why we can win today.
We saw as well in the opening videos, you mentioned about confidence in the team. It felt like,
You
with a
have to pay
victory like that,
taxes
a
on,
2-1, it really pushed
the
you to
crypto share?
distance. It seemed like a very confident performance as well.
Yeah, our confidence is really good right now. So also our communication is really strong also, because Iju really want to play with the Korean. So he really happy about that. So now
Oh, I actually can't sell this because I have it
yeah,
staked.
we're quite
Do you know what
confident right
staking
now.
is, Jared?
Now we know on the team as well, the roster is kind of a new roster. You've got familiar faces like Buzz in there, you know from before. For the newer players that are in the team, who's really impressed you so far?
For me, of course, Emilio. Of course, yes. He's so aggressive guy. He play always calm. I learn a lot from him. So yeah, I think Emilio is the best player, I guess.
Now looking ahead as well, the grand final against Cloud9. We chatted to Rossi yesterday, and you guys know each other. You had a brief time playing together. Is there anything from that time with Rossi that you learned that could help you in this grand final?
Personally, I love Rossi, but when he in the T1, he was a T1 dog. So now trying to beat him.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. Stacks, are
I low
T1
so high.
going to win Red Bull home ground?
Of course, guys!
Of course they are! One more time, would you please put your hands together from T1? It's Stacks! Stax! Let's go, T1! I love it. I absolutely love it. Ian, T1 in the grand final against Cloud9. Let's go, baby.
Let's go indeed. Thank you very much, Adam. I can't believe you called him the Stax Meister, but I'm here for it. I mean, he's here for it, that's for sure. Stax bigging up himself there at the very end, backing his team to go all the way. But before we even contemplate that grand final best of 5 with Cloud9, let's just take a look at what just happened on that final map there on Ascent. Pavlos, we wanted it to be tight, and it was tight.
It really was. There's no other way of explaining it. Sure, there were moments, there was sprees, there were situations where one of the teams took over, they started to create kind of a streak of success, but it was always a close game. Each team always had a leash on each other. It's just that T1 towards the end were able to just escape it and run away.
I think it was really the map control that we saw coming out from T1 as well. The way they were positioning themselves on defense looked great up against, but sure, things were a bit of a struggle at the beginning, but starting things off extremely hot. They kind of had to take a second to get used to how Zeus was trying to make that space on site, but once they got those reads, the adjustments were sublime.
Well, Stax believes that himself and his roster can go all the way to the finish line. I mean, shouted it to the crowd. Of course, guys, we can. Do you believe that T1 has what it takes to beat Cloud9?
Look, it's always going to be a difficult situation when after a triple map of best of 3,
Yeah.
with so much adrenaline going on, you have to play a best of 5 grand final, because after adrenaline, then comes the crash. And it's highlighted more in situations like this, where there's a crowd, where there's more energy involved. So T1 need to show they've got stamina here.
They need to be doing like jumping jacks down there or doing laps of the crowd, right?
Yeah, they've got to
just
keep it
something to
going.
keep the energy up. On the flip side, Cloud9 haven't exerted any energy yet. They're just sitting there, waiting, watching, ready to strike. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's the thing. It's a bit of a trade-off, right? Sure, they're warming up backstage, getting ready for things. They've gotten to sit back, relax a little bit. Maybe somebody had some eyes on the match that just happened here on stage as well. But I know C9, they're going to be focused on playing their own game. And I think it's a double-edged sword. Again, you talk about the stamina there, but at the same time, T1 had insane momentum. It was a momentum-based series the entire way through in this matchup against Foot. If they continue forward with the confidence that Stax is brimming with there in the interview, I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, he's loving life. I think yesterday we did reflect on G2 and what were our learnings from that roster after they dropped out in the semi-finals. What, just briefly, Pavlos, what do you think we can learn from Foot from this experience?
That no matter what, there's always a way to come back, right? And that's what they showed. They've been great at doing it throughout the history of this org's existence, which is why they've been so good at making it far in tournaments. Sure, they haven't made it as far as they would have liked in this tournament, but never give up. Never give. That's what you learn from for sure. T1, though, on the other hand, what you learn from them is that there's a new Korean powerhouse in play, and I cannot not be excited to see them come into play here, and I'm super excited to see how they progress throughout the year, but most importantly, in this next one.
If you could live in any country in the world, what country would you live in, Jared?
Right now, all you need to do is put exclamation mark drops to get your hands on some of the amazing peripherals. Have you done it yet, guys?
Me? Oh, yeah. Listen.
You thought I was talking to the viewer.
I thought you were talking to the crowd right now. I'm not going to lie.
You hear me?
I actually sent a text over to my brothers to tell them to log on to my PC so I could get the drops.
Okay,
down.
good.
Solid.
They are not necessarily the most reliable,
Just imagine
so
if you hadn't
I'm
bought
going to
any
find
power
out
skins,
later
you
if
put
I've
all that
actually
money
gotten
into
the
those.
Well,
drops.
I'll tell you who is reliable. You
So
two, you've been
instead, imagine
absolutely
what
phenomenal
money
this
That's why,
entire,
no, you
last couple of
converted
days.
me.
I hope you
Next time I'm
loved
buying
your
Dogecoin.
first time at home ground.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to ask you, just
Like
before I let you
2-3
go,
months when it
Ocean
goes back to a
Sunset, then
penny,
Grand Final.
I'm buying it.
T1.
Back to it, but dude, it hasn't been a penny.
And then I'm just gonna wait until the next like meme thing happens, where like
T1. I'm going
Elon
T1.
kills Trump, or there's some kind of meme that happens in the world, and Bitcoin just shoots up.
So much.
Well, time
I'm just
will
gonna
tell,
sell
but
them.
Before we get there, we've got a show match coming your way as well. Plus, very special announcement. Can't tell you much about that yet, but we'll be back with a best of 5 grand final. Thank you again to you two. Don't go anywhere. Plenty more to come here live in Berlin.
When you think about it though, like Bitcoin's like actually gonna be useless.
Aren't we doing the show?
Useless.
I am delighted
Yeah.
to be joined now by
What do you mean?
Maluna and Phoebe.
Because the second they make an actual, which I think they're getting closer to, unless the second they make like an actual government currency, digital currency,
Yeah, it's very
they're gonna
nice.
literally
It's
just
good.
destroy
Every
Bitcoin
guy's
and
doing
end all that shit.
good here, I think. How do you feel about it?
I mean, US dollar is
Same
digital.
way, and it's just a nice.
No, but, like,
experience
actually,
here,
though.
And I love it.
It is.
You guys have got the best
No,
seat in the
but
house.
Every
You're
transaction you do is
streaming
digital.
Live, and you can see
It's not the
everything
same
from here. I'm
thing.
kind of jealous of where
It
you're
is.
positioned.
Nah.
What's it been like? How are the community responding as well? Are they enjoying you guys, I guess, being here and experiencing
Government
it too?
can't make a crypto
Yeah,
because the
being
whole
here
point
at
is
the
decentralized.
show is very, it's very nice. You can
Nah,
experience
cryptos-
the crowd and you
yeah,
can experience
Bitcoin,
the live
I would-
chat, and at the
no.
same time there are also other streamers besides us.
People-
Tarek is
people who think the
streaming
future's
here, and
Bitcoin
it's, yeah, it's a
are-
very nice experience.
they need to
just
camp.
experience
They
it
need to
here
camp.
live and also in the chat.
For
Yeah.
those.
Phoebe, you've been watching the games here, obviously with Maluna, and seeing exactly how things are unfolding. Have you been surprised by who's made it to the semi-finals?
someone ever
and
figures out a way to
final,
hack
or are you- do
Bitcoin,
you think
it goes to
these are
zero.
teams that you predicted would go all the way.
So yesterday wasn't that.
Okay, and how
exciting
long do you
from
think
a
it'll be till that
own
happens?
experience.
I don't know.
A week or two?
Scheiße.
Mach du.
Mach du.
Okay.
I'm sure
Okay,
China's been
okay,
trying to
Phoebe's
hack
having
it
a moment.
since
It's fine.
Beijing.
Yeah, I think
So-
T1 is very surprising.
Yeah.
I think they're doing very well right now.
Why would they
And
announce they hacked it?
Cloud9
Wouldn't they
was
just drive the
amazing
price up
yesterday.
and then
They
make
were
money?
So crazy, and it was very unfortunate. I'm
Why are they
a big
interviewing
fan of
ugly
Fnatic,
chicks?
So I felt very heartbroken
They're
yesterday.
probably like
but
in middle
I feel
school,
like
man.
being here is a good opportunity for the teams to just, test their
They're not
limits,
ugly,
see
man.
what they can do, and check out what they can improve maybe
They're
for upcoming
European.
matches. So
There's-
you
they
should
have
see it as an
different
opportunity, and
things
it's
over
very
there.
entertaining to watch anyways, even if you lose. So therefore, I feel like T1 deserves it, Cloud9 deserves it, Foot deserves it, everybody who's
They're
going
not
to play
ugly, dude.
tonight will deserve it.
You're just
You
on the
always gotta
fence.
take off
Everyone's a
with all the
winner,
makeup.
according to Maluna. But let's look
Yeah,
at
but
that,
I mean,
that grand
don't you live in
final.
America?
Imagine without the
We have a
makeup.
German
Don't you live in
team,
America?
some
With
creators
makeup
coming on
is ugly
stage. They're going to go
without
head to
makeup,
head here. I'm going to meet them shortly.
Says you.
I'm not too familiar with them, as some of our audience might not be.
That means
what
says
can you
you.
tell us about some of the players taking part here? Phoebe, what can you tell us?
It's just
Any
pretty
players we should
logical.
look out for?
So we
I
have
don't
two
wear
teams,
makeup,
Team
I'll say
Amma
that.
And Team Kuba.
Oh,
Kuba
we
is
know.
the leader of the first
We
team.
think you wear
he's
eyeliner,
a
man.
good veteran player.
Notice.
Also was for a pro team. And
A picture of
Amas is a
Friendsgiving
veteran, but also
popped
good
up
veteran,
on
And I
Facebook
think they both
like
and
7
the
years
team
ago.
has a lot of personalities which are pretty funny.
I was
And
like, wow,
I
Nelson
hope
looked so
that
much younger 7 years
they,
ago.
show
No,
their
I
self
don't.
with,
I look
their
young
Oh my
now.
god, you did.
stream
You
at
look
home.
so much younger than you
So,
now.
I think this is obviously not a professional game there, but be the whole time here. So I hope that they're just doing their stuff for fun.
Yeah, that's just
and,
Both the
yeah,
Friendsgiving picture
entertain
from
us.
7 years ago.
We want to see entertainment, of course. That's what we're all here for. And what about yourself, Maluna? Who are you kind of looking at, thinking,
No, I
we
look
want the
pretty young.
entertainment, but who do you think can deliver the goods
I look pretty
in the
young.
game? Who do you think is going to win this thing, and who is a dominant player
Pretty young
that
for
everyone
like
at
a
home
4-year-old
should also
man.
be looking out for?
Yeah,
Well,
but that's
she already
that
talked
people are
about
into that,
Kuba.
man.
He's also
Be
in the
surprised.
pro team Focus, who has already played, and yeah, he has a lot of experience. So I feel like their team has a
Right,
big
like almost
advantage
34.
maybe when it comes to in-game sense and IGLing, in the game. So I'd say they have a little bit of an advantage because of the experience. But
You're too far away.
actually, I mean,
You're
the cup is more or less for losing up the tension.
I'm
you
not
know,
sure.
the crowd hype
I'm-
up,
I mean,
especially
I think
German
I'm
crowd
either
here.
33 or
And I feel
34.
like we should all just enjoy and see who's gonna get the Creator Cup trophy.
Fun fact, Kuba drank a lot yesterday,
Is that
so maybe
booze that
they
Sure to forget.
maybe they're not performing so good today, so Amas team has better chance. Maybe.
It's good intel. It's good intel. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you guys for chatting to us as
Sorry
well.
for your
Best of
status.
luck with the rest of the stream. Enjoy the rest of your time here. As Maluna and Phoebe said, it's a celebration of all things Valorant and the community as well here. And we're living our best lives here in Berlin, Germany. It's a great time.
There are any women on any professional teams. Is C9 sexist for not having women on their team? Where did Justin go?
C9 used to have a women team. My favorite team. They were fucking good.
The woman team?
Their women team was crazy.
What happened to them?
They split up because they won like the first 2 game changers, and they would like just 13-0'd every person they ever played. They split the team up, and each player is now like on all the other best teams.
That sounds fake. If your team's winning, you don't split up.
Yeah, but the problem, there was no competition. The best player in like the world retired and is now like a dog girl streamer on TikTok.
But that's fake news.
That is not fake news. That is real news. The video I posted, this one.
Keep
Annie
focusing
Dro.
on where less than 1% of the population pees. It's really
She's
important.
like the best ballerina.
The billionaires who
woman
now
player of all
control our
time.
government want you to focus on the real issues, which is where trans
And now
people
she wears a
pee.
collar
Less
on
than 1% of
Twitter
the
for a living.
population pees is a lot.
I feel like I'm better than shoes.
Definitely not. Dude, the women, some of the women are fucking cracked. They're like crazy good. But I think that I like watching the women tournament better because it's like, it's more competitive now. It's bad. I don't know. I think it's better. They do crazy shit. It's like so much fun.
It's as disappointing a team that we have seen in the NFL in a long time.
And we leaned on each other. We didn't let the outside noise and world divide us. It made it tighter and galvanized us.
Aaron Rodgers is the first Jets QB to have more than 10 touchdown passes in a season since 2019. He did it. He saved the Jets, right?
Couldn't happen to a more smug, cavalier, condescending guy.
Look, it might be time for the New York Jets to lock themselves out of their own facility.
Only bird in the world that will attack an eagle is a crow. It's a crow. The eagle spreads its wings and it soars as high as it possibly can. Eventually, the crow suffocates, falls back down to earth, and dies. That's what happens.
And it turns out they are the crows in that metaphor, not the eagles. They've been falling back to earth for nearly 15 years and they are praying to hit rock bottom. The New York Jets are not so much a football team as they are a conduit of utter disappointment. In 2010, they advanced as a wild card team to their second straight AFC Championship game in as many years. They had just vanquished Peyton Manning in Indianapolis and Tom Brady at Foxborough. There was plenty of reason to believe they would be going to their first Super Bowl since Broadway Joe Namath made his famous guarantee. Bart Scott spoke his famous words,
"Congratulations, see you in Pittsburgh.
Can't wait."
A week later, they were ousted in Pittsburgh. It appears the Jets can wait. They've been waiting since that game against the Steelers to return to the playoffs. It's been nearly a decade and a half, and the drought keeps getting longer. The Sacramento Kings and Seattle Mariners have both broken their no playoff streaks in that same time, meaning the Jets hold the distinction of the longest postseason drought in North American sports. And with the key win against the Texans, maybe maybe there is hope again for Jets fans, but they do have a massive hill to climb to gain anyone's trust back.
And we come out and say, hey, thanks guys.
We're gonna give them a second. Aaron, let them.
It's no accident when a team misses the playoffs for 13 straight seasons. It takes a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad signings, bad hirings, trades, and draft picks, and the Jets just keep digging their hole deeper and deeper and deeper. I'm going to give you a comprehensive list of the most egregious mistakes since 2010 in an attempt to make sense of this cursed 14-year run by the Jets. We're going balls deep into every bad decision the Jets have made. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, especially if you want the bad decisions to stop, or if you want them to keep going. Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog and my code That's Good. If you're gonna play Underdog and you want to play in daily fantasy, sign up with my code. That's all you gotta do. They also have pick'em games. They've got every sport going right now: basketball, hockey, football. And you can play in the pick'em game by stacking player stat totals. You can up to 1,000x your money now. Just use my code when you sign up, because if we get 10,000 signups, they owe me $1 million. Let's begin with the collapse in 2011. Expectations were sky high following the Jets' back-to-back title berths. The 2011 Jets began the season with an 8-5 record, needing just one more win to secure a playoff berth. Instead, they suffered an all-too-familiar collapse, losing their last 3 games. It's really where the drought began. They got smoked by the Eagles and the Giants in back-to-back weeks, then lost by 2 points to the 5-10 Dolphins, who were quarterbacked by Matt Moore at the time. One win, just one win, and they absolutely fucking blew it over the course of 21 days. I don't know if they necessarily would have done anything if they had made the playoffs that year, but they would have been able to say that they made the playoffs. But maybe the Jets could be saved by a holy figure, Tim Tebow. A few months following that collapse, something pretty cool happened. Well, for the Denver Broncos. The Broncos signed free agent quarterback Peyton Manning. They had an incumbent QB they needed to offload, so the Jets traded a 4th and 6th round pick to acquire QB Tim Tebow from Denver. Tebow had actually beaten the Jets the season before with an improbable, insane 20-yard touchdown run in the final seconds of the game. And I have to think that Rex Ryan made that trade simply so he could avoid the embarrassment of losing to Tim Tebow a second time. Tebow mania, though, was at an all-time high. The Denver Broncos had just defeated the Steelers in overtime in the playoffs. And to be fair to the Jets, there were plenty of fans in Broncos country who didn't want Tebow to go, despite getting Peyton Manning. The move yielded next to no on-field results for the Jets. Tebow threw 8 passes. Just 8 passes as a Jet, and was mostly relegated to the bench, while Denver spent one of those picks on linebacker Danny Trevathan, who turned into a key piece of their defense during the Manning era and was a major reason the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2015. Tebow did leave Jets fans with one of the hottest, shirtless runs in the rain we've ever seen. The real drought nobody talks about is how we had to wait over a decade to get another wet, shirtless football hot guy scene. Oh, thank you, Top Gun 2. Fast forward to Thanksgiving night, 2012. QB Mark Sanchez produced one of the most infamous plays, not in Jets history, in NFL history. The butt fumble. Attempting the most bizarre quarterback draw I've ever seen, Sanchez collided with the large ass of his own lineman, Brandy at safety Steve Gregory. This is the kind of trauma that haunts an organization for a long time. You make the most embarrassing play of all time against your arch rivals on prime time on a national holiday. It is rock bottom. And it was the first video I ever recapped here on That's Good Sports that sorta went viral. Now, the reason an organization stays bad is a continuation of missing in the draft and signing the wrong players in free agency. These whiffs began with general manager Mike Tannenbaum. Tannenbaum made several draft picks that failed to move the needle, with Kyle Wilson, Quentin Coples, and Stephen Hill standing out as notable busts during his reign. Mike Tannenbaum is of course on ESPN now, and just to give you a glimpse of how bad of a GM he was, his current trade proposals don't even make sense on a hot take show.
Detroit Lions are going to acquire Myles Garrett for 3 first-round picks, Jahmyr Gibbs, and a second-round pick.
That literally doesn't make any sense, Mike.
They need a pass rusher in the worst way.
What are you talking about, Mike?
Corner Kyle Wilson, selected 29th overall in the first round of the 2010 draft, struggled to secure a consistent starting role despite being highly touted for his coverage skills coming out of Boise State. Just 2 seasons as a primary starter for the Jets. Quentin Coples, a first-round pick at 16th overall in 2012, showed some flashes of potential as a versatile defensive lineman, but was ultimately inconsistent, failing to become the dominant pass rusher the Jets envisioned. Melvin Ingram was taken 2 picks after him, by the way. His lack of an impact led to an early release in 2015. Stephen Hill, picked in the second round at 43 overall in 2012, came into the league with great athleticism and size, but was plagued by injuries and drops, which limited his production and cut his tenure with the Jets short. Alshon Jeffrey, selected 2 picks after him. Hindsight's always a dangerous game when talking about the draft, but these are 2 clear examples of misses, with much better players at the same position getting selected almost immediately after the Jets pick. I imagine those other GMs jumping for joy when they saw the Jets not take the guy they wanted. In 2013, the Jets drafted cornerback D. Milliner with the 9th overall pick, hoping to fill the void left by the departure of All-Pro corner Darrelle Revis. Spoiler alert, he was not Darrelle Revis. Milliner's tenure with the Jets was stymied by injuries and inconsistent play, and he was released in 2016 after appearing in just 21 games over 3 seasons. Just to add insult to injury, Revis eventually signed with the Patriots in 2014, was a big reason that team won their first Super Bowl in a decade, and then of course the Jets decided to bring Revis back on a $70 million deal, only to find out that he was very, very washed. The tide had receded and Revis Island became Revis lakefront property at the Salton Sea. That's like letting your wife divorce you just so she can sleep with the CEO of a mega corporation, putting you out of business, and when she comes back and remarries you, she then tells you she's no longer able to have sex or actually love you. The Jets selected QB Geno Smith in the second round of the 2013 draft, hoping to find their long-term answer at the quarterback position after Mark Sanchez proved he was certainly not the guy. This was actually a nice spot to draft Geno Smith. E.J. Manuel was the only first-round quarterback selected that year, and that didn't work out for the Bills. Unfortunately, Smith's tenure was plagued by turnovers, inconsistent performances, and an off-field incident in 2015 where he was punched by teammate IK Impali in the locker room, resulting in a broken jaw. I completely forgot Mike Vick started 3 games for the Jets in 2014. Just wanted to mention that. There was actual optimism, though, for Geno Smith before he got punched in the face. He had finished 2014 with a 358-yard, 3-touchdown game against Miami. One punch, though, and Geno was eating through a straw.
All it took was one punch. Damn it!
Geno played in just 1 game that season, and after bouncing around the league, has really settled in as a nice quarterback for the Seahawks. So it might have been the right pick in the wrong development track. I wonder if we're going to see that theme happen again with the New York Jets. I don't know. They did spend the 37th overall pick on wide receiver Devin Smith. Smith was expected to provide a deep threat, but injuries derailed his career almost from the start. He played in just 14 games over 2 seasons, recording a mere 10 receptions, and was waived by the team in 2017. Tyler Lockett was also available for the taking when they took him. The 2015 season, though, was incredibly odd for the Jets. Their quarterback in development injured by assault from a teammate, their draft pick a bust, but they win 10 games with Ryan Fitzmagic. Former Broncos receivers Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker combined for 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns. New head coach Todd Bowles appeared to be the right man for the job, but sometimes getting teased with a glimmer of hope is worse than just sucking. Journeyman QB Ryan Fitzpatrick led the Jets to a 10-6 record out of absolutely nowhere. However, in a win-and-in game against the Buffalo Bills, Fitzpatrick threw 3 fourth-quarter interceptions, ending the Jets' playoff hopes. It was a gut-wrenching loss and a cruel reminder of the team's ongoing struggles. Despite the bitter end to 2015, the Jets doubled down on Fitzpatrick, re-signing him to a $12 million deal for the 2016 season. The move backfired as Fitzpatrick regressed significantly, leading the Jets to a 5-11 season and tossing 17 picks in just 11 starts. And it hurts me to bring this up because of how much I love that man, but I think we all know his true power was unleashed when no one would expect it. And the Jets put all of their eggs in the Fitz basket. Well, except for one egg. In 2016, the Jets used a second-round pick on Penn State QB Christian Hackenberg, a player that was considered a developmental prospect and bust. One that hadn't really produced anything of note since his freshman year under Bill O'Brien. This was the same draft where the Broncos had selected Paxton Lynch, and where, of course, Dak Prescott was available. If I have to be shamed for not drafting Dak, so do you, Jets fans. Hackenberg never appeared in a regular season game for the Jets, marking one of the most glaring draft misses in recent NFL history. Never played a snap. He was even terrible in other leagues, too. This was also not the last time the Jets would spend a top 70 pick on a player who had failed to play in a single game for them.
I'm uncomfortable sometimes because I think you look uncomfortable on some of the films.
Right. This won't fix any of your problems in New York City, but if you like this stupid crumpled up paper airplane shirt, check it out over at benchwarmershop. It's failed to surround Darnold with the right coaching staff and supporting cast, leading to a really frustrating 3-year stretch. They wanted Broadway Joe, but they got this Joe instead.
What does it mean to you now when the team is struggling?
I want to kiss you. I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Making matters worse, the Jets passed on potential stars like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in favor of Sam Darnold. A decision that looks worse, of course, in hindsight. But then again, they might have fucked up those guys too. Adding insult to injury, Darnold missed time with mono in 2019, derailing what little momentum he had built. Sounds familiar, right? Also, would you rather get mono or a broken jaw? I'm not really sure. Anyway, Sam Darnold is now using his supernatural ghost-seeing powers to light it up with the Minnesota Vikings and looks poised to make a playoff run later this season.
Seeing ghosts.
Oh, you Jets, you silly, silly Jets. Imagine a Geno Smith, Sam Darnold playoff game in January. That might put Jets fans over the edge, so I hope it doesn't happen. So just a season after drafting Sam Darnold, 2019 became the blow it all up year for the Jets. One of the best things you can do for a rookie quarterback and his development is fire the general manager and the head coach and the offensive coordinator who selected him. GM Mike Tannenbaum, fired in 2012. John Idzik does the job poorly for 2 years. Mike Maccagnan brings Todd Bowles with him in 2015, and they cook nothing tasty for 4 years. So, 2019 begins the Joe Douglas era in New York City. His first move, hire Adam Gase. Wrong. 'Twas brother of Woody Johnson, Christopher, filling in for Woody while Woody was the UK ambassador. Okay, little bro, all you gotta do is not burn the house down while I'm gone. The matches and gasoline are right there, but don't touch it. The Jets did an entire round of free agency and the NFL draft with Maccagnan and Gase, and then fired Maccagnan after the draft before hiring Joe Douglas in June. I believe the phrase for this is ass backwards. You kind of want your GM and head coach to be on the same page and make all of those key decisions together. And they didn't even hire a good head coach or a highly sought-after head coach. They hired Adam Gase, and the hiring of Gase in 2019 was met with widespread criticism and skepticism, and it quickly became clear why. Under Gase, the Jets went 9-23, a period defined by dysfunction and a lack of progress. It was one of those moves that didn't even require hindsight, just foresight only. I know Adam Gase made the playoffs with the Dolphins in 2016, but the Jets got to see how bad he was up close twice a year, and they still decided to pull the trigger on one of the worst coaches to ever get a second chance in the NFL. Looking at a division rival head coach with back-to-back losing seasons and thinking, yeah, that's my guy. I want whatever drug Woody Johnson is ingesting to think that way. That would have been like the Vikings hiring Matt Patricia after his failed run in Detroit, or the Saints currently scheming to poach Dave Canales from the Panthers. A few months later in 2019, the Jets spent the 68th overall pick on Florida edge rusher Jachai Polite. To put it politely, what the fuck, Jets? The move was widely banned as a reach, and Polite never made it to the regular season, racking up 6 figures in fines before being cut before the end of training camp. So once again, a day 2 pick was used on a complete, and I mean complete, non-factor on the field for the Jets. Polite missed the whole 2019 season and later recorded exactly 1 sack as a member of the Rams in 2020. And one of the Jets' biggest miscues was signing running back Le'Veon Bell. But I'll bring in my friend and tortured Jets fans, Luigi, to tell you all about it.
The signing of Le'Veon Bell by the Jets in 2019 was a major misallocation of resources for the franchise. Coming off a year-long holdout due to a contract dispute with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Bell was expected to rejuvenate the Jets' offense and provide a threat both on the ground and in the passing game for Sam Darnold. The Jets signed him to a 4-year, $52.5 million contract. Oh, by the way, $35 million of that was guaranteed for a guy who hadn't played football in a year, which made him one of the highest-paid running backs in the league. However, Bell's production never matched his contract. He really struggled behind a weak offensive line and clashed with then head coach Adam Gase, who apparently never even wanted Bell on the team. Bell failed to break 800 yards in his first season and saw a steep decline in efficiency and explosiveness compared to his all-pro years in Pittsburgh. But the worst part is this forced Bell to double down on his rap career, something that would bring all football fans pain, not just Jets fans.
Diamonds are white, got me feeling Caucasian. I'm rocking all black like I play for the Ravens.
Thank you so much, Luigi. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel, Weege. He does excellent work. He makes excellent Madden videos, so please go show him some love and give him a sub. Joe Douglas, the current general manager of the New York Jets, has had a mixed track record in the NFL draft with some other high-profile misses, including Mekhi Becton and Denzel Mims. Becton, the 11th overall pick in the 2020 draft, was selected for his enormous size and athleticism, with hopes that he could anchor the Jets' offensive line for years to come. Ahead of Tristan Wirfs, by the way, one of the best tackles in the league right now. However, Becton's career has been marred by injuries, limiting him to just a handful of games over his first few seasons and raising questions about his durability,
which is why he ended up signing a 1-year deal with the Eagles this last offseason.
Denzel Mims, taken 59th overall in the second round of the same draft.
Denzel, this is Joe Douglas with the Jets. I'm looking for a playmaker. Did I find one on the right line?
Punishing me. Entered the league with promising physical tools and playmaking ability. Yet, Mims struggled to find his footing in the Jets offense, accumulating just 676 yards and 0 career touchdowns in 3 years with the Jets. The Jets were bad in 2020, perhaps even worse than usual. The good news was there was a clear-cut number 1 prospect at quarterback waiting for them if they could secure the first pick in the draft. But they couldn't even do that right, could they? New York inexplicably won 2 of their last 3 games and got leapfrogged by the Jaguars in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. And I'm well aware that Trevor Lawrence hasn't quite been all that we expected, but keep in mind, this is still a guy who won a playoff game with the Jacksonville Jaguars. No small feat. Someone say feat? No, Rex, not that kind of feat. And the guy the Jets ended up with? Zach Wilson. He's no longer on the team, but we'll get to him in a minute. In 2021, the Jets brought in head coach Robert Saleh, right? Hoping his defensive experience with the 49ers and his leadership would change the culture after the Adam Gase debacle. And to be fair to Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson, Saleh was the hottest head coaching candidate in that hiring cycle. That was a group that included Urban Meyer, fired, Brandon Staley, fired, Arthur Smith, fired, David Culley, scapegoat. Only Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni remained from that round. Saleh was definitely an upgrade over Adam Gase, but the record is what the record is. He was a 20-36 head coach in 3+ seasons, and while he did catch some bad luck, the organization didn't get any less dysfunctional while he was in charge. Jets fans were promised all gas and no brakes. Instead, they just got loads and loads of gas. One thing the Jets did well was fleece the Seattle Seahawks in the Jamal Adams trade. That was nice. Getting not one, but 2 first-round draft picks for a safety should be studied by future GMs on how you can get the pieces needed to rebuild your team. And they used those picks to draft Elijah Vera Tucker, one of the few good and consistent pieces on their offensive line. They were also able to draft receiver Garrett Wilson, who has been very good. Winning a trade like this and hitting with the draft picks you accumulated and still sucking is so perplexing to me that I don't understand how it's even possible. Oh wait, yes I do. It's because Zach Wilson was drafted in the same year as Tucker. With the 2nd overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jets select QB Zach Wilson, banking on his raw talent and big play potential. It didn't work out that way. Unfortunately, Wilson had a huge COVID season at BYU, but if you looked a little closer, you would have noticed that his stats really smelled like poo-poo, and that he was racking up big numbers against really inferior competition. Only Woody Johnson of Johnson & Johnson benefited more from COVID than Zach Wilson when you really think about it. Wilson went 12-21 over 3 seasons in New York, throwing 2 more picks than touchdowns, being more well known for possibly sleeping with his friends' moms than playing quarterback. The Jets finally did recoup a 7th rounder when they traded Zach Wilson to Denver, which means in a couple years he'll be lighting it up with the Rams or some team like that, right? The most bizarre thing that occurred is Jets receiver Garrett Wilson and corner Sauce Gardner winning defensive and offensive rookie of the year honors in 2022. 2 great picks by Joe Douglas in a draft. They also nabbed Breece Hall. There is tons of talent on this current Jets roster, which is why this last part hurts so much.
We watched Mike White, Joe Flacco, hell even Josh Johnson look like a better starting quarterback than Zach Wilson ever could. So going into 2023, all we wanted was a legitimate starting quarterback.
Aaron Rodgers officially is being traded to the New York Jets. And it just came down moments ago in a trade involving 6 picks. The Jets are sending their 1st round pick this year, their 2nd round pick this year. Well, hold on! Big Swagoo, hold on. Their 2nd round pick next year, it's a conditional pick. They get back the Packers' 1st round pick this year and a 5th round pick. But the trade is coming down.
It was a Super Bowl swing for a team that hadn't made the playoffs in over 10 years. The Rodgers era was obviously delayed a year by his Achilles rupture 4 snaps into the 2023 season.
Robert Saleh acknowledged that they believe it's an Achilles injury. And that is what the feeling across the league this evening was.
But now, since taking over as the starter, the results have been, well, the worst of Rodgers' career. And all it cost them was $112 million over 3 years. Oh yeah, and he could just retire whenever he wants, leaving the Jets with yet another massive void at the QB position. Rodgers has turned the Jets into even more of a sideshow than usual, bringing along his cronies like Randall Cobb, Nathaniel Hackett, and now pulling the level of influence to get Davante Adams as well. And somewhere in there they gave Allen Lazard $44 million over 5 years. At least you can say Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than a pseudo GM right now, and he's a bad QB. Well, he's average. Okay, well, he's had 1 great half. Things are improving ever so slightly for Rodgers. However, he was playing so poorly he could no longer make Nathaniel Hackett look even serviceable. He might not be qualified to do anything other than, quote, Austin Powers. And not even the good Austin Powers, fucking Gold member of all movies. But because he's one of Rodgers' guys, Hackett failed upwards into the Jets' offensive coordinator job, and he has now been relieved of play calling duties. I'm not really sure what Hackett does anymore in New York, but the fact that he's even still on the payroll, is a symbol of the relentless power that Rodgers wields in that building. It took until week 8 for Hassan Reddick to get onto the field in 2024. No, he wasn't injured. He was holding out for half the season immediately after being traded to the Jets from the Eagles. It's one of the most bizarre trades we've ever seen. The Jets gave up a conditional third-round pick to get Hassan Reddick. Whether Reddick is to blame or the Jets are to blame, it's irrelevant at this point. Reddick could have made a difference in some close games early in the season for the Jets, but he only got onto the field after they were already 2-5, and when he did get on the field, he didn't do anything in their loss to the Patriots. He didn't even record a tackle. He did play much better in his second game against the Texans, getting 8 pressures. That one win has given life to a team that would have been dead if they lost to the Texans on Thursday night. A game where they fumbled the touchdown right before the goal line, got a personal foul on a field goal attempt, which somehow worked out in their favor, as Kaimi Fairbairn missed a chip shot after that penalty. They did very Jets-like things all game and still found a way to win. And finally, Davante Adams. Now this trade may ultimately be the right move, and maybe by some miracle it works out just enough. No, not playoffs. That Aaron Rodgers doesn't retire the second the Jets take the final snap of the 2024 season. But even after a weird win in prime time, the Jets' expectations have been reset. The fringe Super Bowl team in 2023 before the season started will now be happy with simply having a winning record and a small chance at making the playoffs. And much like Russell Wilson in Denver, the lightning rod for the Jets is a culmination of high expectations not being met. They are not the worst team in the league, and maybe all of the scrutiny from outside of the organization can galvanize them.
It better, because until Thursday night, they were the biggest train wreck in the NFL this season.
And we leaned on each other. We didn't let the outside noise and world divide us. It made it tighter and galvanized us, man.
To all the non-believers. How did that? To all the non-believers.
Guys, I'm so proud of the group, man. The way you guys stayed together, the way you were so resilient.
Poetic justice. We know we were a much better team than we came up and represented ourselves.
That game right there represents exactly where the process of this thing.
People gave us no chance, like we barely made it in playoffs. We're a good football team.
And maybe, just maybe, Jeff Ulbrich can keep them going. And these last moves, Rodgers, Reddick, and Adams, are actually, finally, the right ones. And if they're not, God save the Jets. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. We did a video like this for the Denver Broncos last season. If you want to check out all of the wrong moves they made, go watch it. And actually, you can use that as a bit of hope, New York Jets fans, because it looks like the Broncos have finally rectified their mistakes.
But team on mark, wanting to get revenge, maybe their first round on the board.
Welcome back to Football with Ben Roethlisberger. My name is Spence, and as always, I am joined here with two-time Super Bowl.
Hey, you want to keep it a little bit competitive here, right? Swift play. These rounds, they pass by super quickly. But you can actually
Deshaun Watson, before getting injured, was playing quite literally like the worst quarterback of the millennium. Watson went down, of course. Underwhelming performance the previous 2 years almost makes us forget what a revelation he was in Houston. Watson's career ended at Clemson on the highest possible note. He threw a game-winning touchdown pass to Hunter Renfrow with 1 second left on the clock to beat Alabama in the 2016 National Championship game. Hunter Renfrow, currently being unemployed, is also a great unsolved mystery right now in the NFL. But I digress. That game made Watson a lock to go early in the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft, and he went off the board at the 12th overall pick. 10 picks after Mitchell Kisson, Teddy's Trubisky, and 2 after Patty Mahomes. The Houston Texans were trying to recover from a pretty awful contract that they handed out to Brock Osweiler following Brock's 7-game stretch with the Broncos when he held down the fort for Peyton Manning in 2015 before the Sheriff returned to win Super Bowl pity. Watson threw just 204 passes his rookie season before a season-ending injury, which was really unfortunate because he had 2 games with 4 TD passes, another game with 5, and he was on pace for a 40-touchdown season, which would have shattered the rookie record. Now, he cooled off a little bit statistically speaking his second year in Houston, throwing 26 TDs and rushing for 5, but the Texans won the AFC South and ran into a red-hot Colts team in the wild card who shut them down at home. In 2019, the Texans repeated as AFC South champs. Watson combined for 33 touchdowns and 15 starts, and he got his first playoff win in the wild card at home against Josh Allen and the upstart Bills. In really an insane game that's been mostly forgotten to time. There was a bizarre penalty called in that game that screwed the Bills. But a big reason we forget about that game is the next week, it got even crazier. Watson's Texans went into Arrowhead, amassed a 24-point lead in the second quarter, and somehow blew it before halftime, eventually losing by 20 points. An ill-timed fake punt ring a bell? A terribly executed, ill-timed fake punt ring any fucking bells?
Hamlin is stopped short.
Now that game really sent the organization into a tailspin, and in 2020 they managed only 4 wins in spite of an incredible statistical season by Watson. In year 4, he led the NFL with 4,800 yards and 8.9 yards per attempt combined for 36 TDs and was picked off just 7 times. And that was after losing wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. That was really one of the all-time what the fuck seasons in NFL history, and it made sense that Watson wanted out of Houston after that debacle. Hell, JJ Watt wanted out. He was done with Houston. And we were given this memory, walking off the field together, with most of us knowing this was the last time we'd see them on the same team. JJ Watt, of course, ended up with the Arizona Cardinals, where his team had inexplicably sent DeAndre Hopkins. Deshaun Watson, forcing his way out, had numerous teams who were lining up for his services. A huge trade market was emerging as Watson refused to report to the Texans, and then 22 lawsuits happened, right? Watson never took a snap in the year 2021. The allegations got really disturbing, and we were starting to wonder if he would ever play football again. Who would take a chance on this creep? Surely it would be a low-risk contract if anybody did take a chance on this creep. Enter the Browns, the creepiest of creeps. Cleveland jettisoned Baker Mayfield, who won the only playoff game since the Browns returned to Cleveland in 1999, and the team sent 3 first-rounders plus 3 mid-round picks to the Texans for Deshaun Watson and inked him to the largest fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. 5 years, $230 million. Yes, the National Football League, where you can be outed as a malicious sex pervert and then rewarded with the most handsome and secure deal anyone in the sport has ever seen. It's the most soulless sports move I've ever witnessed. Now, after an 11-game suspension from those allegations, Watson finally took the field for the Browns in 2022, played some shockingly mediocre football, and followed it up with a 5-1 record with middling numbers in 2023 before breaking a bone in his throwing shoulder that ended his season. Through 2 seasons in Cleveland, the trade already looked like an unmitigated disaster. Then, we really found out how good that Browns team was. This is why there's no real excuse for how bad Watson's play currently is. The 2023 Browns won 11 games despite being forced to start 5 different QBs. They really hit their stride in the last 6 games when they called up Joseph Flacco from his couch, and the offense totally came alive. Flacco won 4 of his 5 starts. The team hit at least 30 points in 3 of those games, and guys like tight end David Njoku, receiver Elijah Moore, and Amari Cooper all ended the year with career highs in yards. Keep in mind, this was all without Nick Chubb in the backfield, so we can't even point to Flacco and the offense having his production over this current 2024 offense. And Kevin Stefanski won his 2nd Coach of the Year for his job with this team, and of course the irony of the Browns' demise was in the playoffs, they were ousted by the Houston Texans, the team they had inadvertently helped rebuild when they sent a king's ransom to acquire Watson, who wasn't even on the field in the wild card round. exit Joe Flacco. Despite his late career renaissance and huge numbers, someone calling the shots in Cleveland decided that not only was he not going to start in 2024, he wasn't even going to be on the roster. And no one knows why, but I think it's fair to speculate that Watson might have felt threatened, or the man signing his checks might have felt threatened by the fact that a better, much cheaper quarterback would be breathing down his neck all season. God forbid Deshaun Watson knows what it feels like to be in an uncomfortable and unwanted situation. Joe Flacco moved on to Indy, took over after Anthony Richardson's injury, and has looked pretty damn close to what we saw last season on a less talented offense. So how bad is Deshaun Watson right now? Well, if you watch him, you know it's pretty bad. Austin Gale of The Ringer published a really good article highlighting 12 key stats that confirm what our eyes have been telling us. 2024 Deshaun Watson is not just bad, he's having one of the worst quarterback seasons of all time. And I wanted to get into a few of those numbers and break down the absolute train wreck of a year he's having. Let's start here, because this is a sad one. When a 34-year-old veteran safety becomes as productive offensively as your star quarterback, alarm bells ring. Safety Rodney McLeod Jr., with 2 defensive touchdowns this season, has matched Watson's touchdown output over the last 3 games. Watson, paid to ignite the Browns' offense, has been as ineffective as a backup safety in recent weeks. The only thing he ignited was the fire that burned Cleveland's offense to the fucking ground. And unlike the Detroit Lions, I cannot see this team rising from the ashes. Cleveland's offensive line is riddled with injuries, including key starters Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills Jr., but even accounting for those absences, Watson has exacerbated the problem. With a league-high 31 sacks taken, 11 more than the next closest QB, Watson has been slow to process defenses and holds onto the ball far too long. He's like a predatory version of Russell Wilson, but unlike Russ, he sucks in the red zone. He sucks between the 20s. He sucks on the sideline, he sucks in the locker room, and I'm assuming he sucks at home when he's sitting on his fucking couch. If Watson is failing anywhere else, it's also on third down, the most crucial moment in sustaining drives. The Browns are converting a historically abysmal 19% of their third downs, one of the worst percentages for any team in the past 24 years. Watson's individual performance on third down has been equally disastrous, with a drop-back success rate of just 24%, ranking dead last in the NFL. The inability to convert in these situations has crippled the Browns' offensive rhythm and contributed directly to their abysmal scoring output. For Browns fans, that means they got better production on third down from quarterbacks like Charlie Fry, Colt McCoy, Brian Hoyer, Kelly Holcomb, Brady Quinn, and even Johnny Manziel. Probably. I was too lazy to check Johnny Football's stats on third down, but it might have been better. Net yards per attempt, okay? This is a fundamental stat in evaluating quarterbacks weighing passing efficiency and sacks. Watson's NY/A of 4.2 ranks him among the bottom 1% of quarterbacks since the year 2000. The inefficiency isn't just bad for Watson, it's disastrous for the Browns. For a franchise that gave up so much in trade value and salary for Watson, his inability to move the chains in a meaningful manner totally fucks up a team's rhythm, not only shutting down drives on offense, but putting the defense in a spot where they can't catch their breath whatsoever. By every possible metric, Watson is ranked now among the worst quarterbacks of the millennium. And keep in mind, this is the 25th year of this millennium. It's not even a new millennium anymore. His EPA per dropback of negative 0.26 is one of the 10 worst performances since 2000, placing him alongside QBs like Jamarcus Russell, Josh Rosen, and Kyle Bowler, some of the more spectacular busts of all time. Even more alarming, Watson's drop-back success rate of 32.7% places him firmly in the company of other quarterback failures like Blaine Gabbert and David Carr, also busts. Watson's struggles go beyond even the NFL's most notorious bust, Jamarcus Russell. In 2009, Russell posted an EPA of negative 62.8 on dropbacks through 6 games, marking a career low for one of the biggest draft disappointments in NFL history. In 2024, Watson surpassed even that with an EPA of negative 66.2.
We are talking about quarterback play that is so bad that Kevin Stefanski can't do anything. And he's taking a lot of criticism for having a simplified offense. What he's trying to do is simplify an offense down to the point where Deshaun can do something in it, and that's not possible. He can't go low enough right now.
ESPN's Bill Barnwell also dropped a pretty damning nugget, posting this: out of 566 quarterbacks since 2007, Watson ranks 558th in QBR, ESPN's metric that evaluates quarterbacks' overall performance in passing and running. His yards per dropback even worse, placing him at 565th. Most alarming, and I keep saying alarming, but the alarm bells just keep ringing more loudly, more clearly. Trap forever! Is his first down rate, where Watson ranks dead last at 566th. I will also be ignoring the fact that Bo Nix is 564th on that list. Now, to be fair to Deshaun Watson, statistically speaking, he is the only quarterback in the NFL currently to have thrown a touchdown pass after being accused of more than 20 varying degrees of sexual misconduct. No other quarterback's done that. Not a single one. So, the whole Browns offense has taken a huge nosedive. I mentioned that they scored 30 or more points in 3 of Flacco's 5 starts last season. Now they have yet to score 20 points in each of their first 6 games. The first time a team has done that in a decade. It gets glossed over a little bit because he hasn't been a Brown since 2021, but the job Baker Mayfield is doing down in Tampa makes this all so much worse for Cleveland. Mayfield leads the NFL in touchdown passes.
Half 100 on the head! Half 100!
Flacco has thrown 2 more touchdowns than Watson in 3 fewer games. Now, Deshaun Watson hasn't played good football in 4 years. He hasn't had double-digit touchdown passes or more than 6.5 yards per attempt since before Joe Biden became president. It's over. He's not coming back. And the sooner the Browns accept that, the sooner they can win back some goodwill from their fan base and dig themselves out of the deepest hole I've ever seen in the NFL.
Gets yet to try to get the ball to Judy.
Watson just stumbled, and now Watson is hurt. Oh, boy. Just an unbelievable scene. Deshaun Watson carted off the field. This was seconds ago.
So yes, it was an ugly end to an ugly situation. I've never seen fans so united in cheering a player who just got seriously injured. That's a first for me. We're not going to do an audit on how many of those fans were excited for Watson at the time of the trade and how many cheered after the injury just because he was playing poorly. And at the end of the day, it goes to show how much Watson was resented by his own fans and fans in general, which I certainly understand.
Sorry, but get better soon. He needed to go.
It's over, though. That's all that matters. And while the Russell Wilson trade wasn't nearly as disastrous, I think Denver starting this year 4-3 with a record number of dead cap proves that a bad contract isn't necessarily a death sentence. Hell, it's not even a life sentence if you can find cheap talent and coach it up, which Kevin Stefanski is capable of, even though he relinquished play calling duties to Ken Dorsey. What the hell's going on there? I don't know. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube.
Regresar cada 100 años con el deber de encontrar a un campesino puro de corazón, capaz de arrancar la poderosa flor del fondo del lago. Una bella y pequeña flor, dorada como el sol, símbolo de renovación y esperanza, que ofrece
Welcome to State
de un nuevo amanecer. Con él, el rey
Welcome to State of Play on Mint Press News, a bi-weekly geopolitical news show hosted by myself, Greg Stoker, a former U.S. Army Ranger turned anti-war activist. And I'm reaffirming that brief bio because today we are going to be talking about U.S. national security, its warfighting capabilities looking toward future conflicts, and the lessening of U.S. military power projection, all within the context of this intractable recruiting crisis. We have a lot of ground to cover. I know earlier today the International Criminal Court just issued arrest warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister of Israeli Defense Forces Yoav Gallant, and we might touch on those with regards to U.S. moral credibility, soft power, and continued warmongering, which hurts, I would say, recruitment. But today we are joined by Major General Dennis Leitch, U.S. Army retired, who had a distinguished 35-year career in the Army Reserve. The last 14 of those years were spent in various command positions, most recently as commander of the 94th Regional Readiness Command in Fort Devon. Leitch holds a bachelor's degree in political science from Lafayette, a master's from West Virginia University. He completed postgraduate studies at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University and is a graduate of the U.S. Army War College. In areas of expertise, all volunteer force, demographics and trade-off, conscription, and national military service, senior level military leadership and general officer experience, and reserve and National Guard force structure and operations. Thank you so much for coming on, General. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So first of all, I've read some of your literature and your a lot of success in my career, which I'm opinions and expertise on the ongoing intractable recruiting crisis. Going forward, we've all heard like whispers or rumors of it, but it hasn't really penetrated into the mainstream media. I have been searching for major outlets reporting on this issue that's been ongoing for I'm not sure how many years, but it's been part of the conversation since I can remember of the past few years, but only no local news sources have been reporting on this, and I think a lot of Americans are kind of out of touch with this ongoing crisis. I'm just going to play a 1 minute and 50-second clip from a news station, then I'd like to hear your commentary on that.
Military officials say fewer people are signing up to serve. The military will begin the new year with the smallest active duty force in more than 80 years.
Yeah, crazy numbers here. It's the lowest since about 1940, and this means a lot of questions for recruiters. Like, what's going on here? They want to know how the armed forces could increase their numbers for 2024. So turn on your sides. Kamaria Bray is in the control room breaking down more on why this could be happening. Kamaria.
The shortfall hits the Army, Navy, and Air Force. And the Department of Defense says military services missed recruiting goals by 41,000 recruits this year, and they want young people to enlist. The DoD says only 23% of young people 17 to 24 qualify to join the military. Physical fitness concerns, including obesity, stop some from joining, while others would likely not be able to join because of their criminal history or drug-related issues. And fewer young adults have no interest in it. Now, the government says some Gen Zers have low trust in institutions and fewer people in their family that serve. The DoD says another challenge is that military is in fewer places, so young people may not see service members in their community on a regular basis. Congressman Jim Banks, who is a veteran, blamed lack of patriotism.
We're not telling kids in school that America is the greatest country in the history of the world, that it's worth fighting and dying for, and inspiring a new generation to serve.
On the other hand, the Marine Corps and Space Force made its recruiting goals. The Army has a program to help recruits qualify, and the Air Force has aviation camps where young people can experience service life. I'm Kamaria Bray, 10 on your side.
Well, hearing the a sitting member of the Armed Forces Committee saying that, you know, kids should want to fight and die for a country, it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of introspection over what happened over the last 20 years, the overseas contingency plans that were fought in West and Central Asia.
The future is bright for you. Thank you so much.
No, there hasn't been. I should point out that in my book, which I wrote in 2013, Skin in the Game, Poor Kids and Patriots, with regard to the American view today, I wrote at that time that most Americans look at the military in general and the way we man the force in particular through a lens of fear, apathy, ignorance, and guilt. So we're seeing that in spades now. But the recording that we just watched was pretty accurate in that. When I wrote the book in 2013, 30% of the the recruiting age population met the minimum requirements for enlistment. Now it's down to 23%, and 15% had a propensity to serve. That's now down to 9%. So last year, most of the services met their recruiting requirements, but 2 years before, the Army was a total of 25,000 short. The Navy currently is 22,000 sailors short. The Air Force is 1,800 pilots short, and we have an ongoing problem. But it's not only the number, but it's the quality of what we're looking at. The number of reasons for the failures that was identified in the clip there. It failed to include the low scores on the ASVAB, and now we have some remedial work being done at Fort Jackson and Great Lakes. The Army and the Navy, the Army's has a what's called the Future Soldiers Program, where people who can't meet the medical or the weight and height requirements or the mental requirements are given remedial training. But there's a problem in that, and 25% of the enlistments came from that program last year. The problem in that is that creating problems down the road. It's a pretty strong medical history that if you've been overweight for an extended period and you lose the weight quickly, you gain it back. So that creates a problem down the road for the Army Weight Control Program. And the fact that you can take Cat 4s who score low on the ASVAB and suddenly after 3 or 4 weeks create a perfectly qualified soldier calls into question the integrity of the schooling or the integrity of the test. So there's a lot of problems going forward.
Yeah, and so just context for the audience, the ASVAB, which the general is referring to, is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Basically, kind of imagine it as an SAT that places you or qualifies you for certain jobs, MOSs inside the military. So you'd have to get higher for intelligence, engineering, and I was infantry, so I didn't have to get the highest ASVAB score, but that's all right. So it's also a lack of eligible recruits. But in your Newsweek article that I was reading, going through last night, you brought up that there is also a distrust of military service. You write, quote, over the last decade, as you just mentioned, the prospect to serve has declined from 15% to 9%. In the United States has cultivated, quote, as you wrote, an image of war as easy and inexpensive, but despite a poor record of performance. Since World War II, the U.S. has tied in Korea, lost in Vietnam, Iraq and Afghanistan, and won the first Gulf War. A record of 1-3-1 cannot be viewed as a success. So I guess what are other factors that are you believe that are going into a lack of propensity to join the military and serve and perhaps conduct combat operations overseas?
I think we have an ongoing problem with suicides in the military, which is a major issue that hasn't been dealt with effectively. We have an issue of sexual violence in the military that hasn't been dealt with effectively. We have housing issues and spousal opportunities, spousal employment opportunities that have not been dealt with effectively. Healthcare. I don't know if I mentioned childcare. We also have housing issues. I mean, we're putting soldiers up in mold-infested barracks and substandard housing throughout the conference.
Yeah, and the benefits. One of the reasons I joined was for college, and college isn't really panning out the way, or college degrees aren't panning out the way they used to or were in the modern economy. And I think a lot of the kids are realizing that. Also, Yeah, the suicide rate is, whenever I talk to guys in their 20s who are thinking about joining the military, it's like the suicide rate is a main sticking point because it's just been so egregious over the global war on terror. And, you know, they look at the VA healthcare and post-war veterans benefits and the healthcare system, and it all seems like one big mess. I mean, we give plenty of money to defense contractors, but it just seems like the pay isn't meeting inflation. They don't want to invest in any base infrastructure. And you also mentioned in this article that, you know, the all volunteer force is in decline, and that's been a conversation for a long time. And there's a lot of talk about a draft, and would that fix anything?
Well, it would fix something, but you know, the thing is, it's not an all volunteer force. It's a borderline mercenary force. When you're paying $50,000 bonuses for a young 18-year-old who has no skills to come in and serve, it's what are they volunteering for? Are they volunteering for patriotism or volunteering for $50,000? You know, you have you don't see many commercials that tout patriotism. It's called benefits, and it's become transactional rather than patriotic.
And you see that as a threat?
The problem, but you know, here's the other thing too. We're having a tough time in peace now, manning the military. What happens when we have a war? You know, everyone says that well, you know, there'll be a rush to the recruiting stations. You know, most people can't find Taiwan on a map. So if we were to go to war with China over Taiwan, well, what makes anyone think that there'd be a rush to the recruiting stations to enlist? It wouldn't happen, I don't think, because you know, we have data right now. It says that 3 principal reasons that people don't enlist is 1, fear of death, 2, fear of serious injury, and 3, fear of reluctance to leave home. So the first 2 are exacerbated in wartime. We can't recruit to sufficient numbers in peace. So you know, the whole thing crumbles.
Yeah, I guess there are people still locked in the World War II or post 9/11 mentality. It's like we were under attack, so everyone's going to rush in. But I definitely feel like after 20 years of 2 low-intensity conflicts that we eventually withdrew from, the zeal is not there at all.
Well, bear in mind that rush to the recruiting stations after 9/11 lasted for 4 to 6 months and then it dissipated.
Wow, no, I don't remember that. Okay, yeah, well, there was a lot of recruiting propaganda going around. I remember in my own unit when Pat Tillman got into 2nd Ranger Battalion, they really made a meal out of that. But yeah, so I guess one of the things is you believe we keep getting involved in these wars. The thrust of your argument was, and there's a bunch of lying that goes into it, a bunch of manipulation, a bunch of manufacturing of consent to get the public on board, also to get them to sign up for the military, and it's generally poor kids from trailer parks. What we generally call, what I generally call, like the poverty draft in some ways, and you know, the legislators who send them to war, like their kids don't fight. I mean, you know, we have a number of presidents who are straight up draft dodgers as well from the Vietnam era. And you were arguing, and it was an interesting argument, that a draft would make it more equitable and would somewhat fix some of these recruiting issues. If everybody had skin in the game, it would orient towards a less warlike footing.
I often ask audiences throughout the United States when I speak, if in 2006 or 2008 we had implemented a fair across-the-board draft, men and women, no deferments, no exemptions, how long would we have stayed in Afghanistan? Additionally, if we implemented a war surtax such that every quarter you received a bill from the IRS for your share of the cost of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, how long would we have stayed? Nobody has skin in the game other than the poor kids and patriots who fight and their families.
Yeah, I guess that was a main contributing factor to the Vietnam backlash. I mean, that war had 10 years of direct involvement with U.S. forces on the ground. But a big part of ending that, I believe, as someone who didn't grow up in that era, I mean, my father volunteered, but I think one of the big motivations was because they were actually getting sent, like middle-class working families who thought their kids were going to go to college. Nope. But I'm not sure, like, is a draft an actual possibility? I mean, it's an interesting thought experiment, but is it actually going to something that you see ever going to be implemented again?
Well, here's the thing. Everybody says it's a political non-starter. What's a political non-starter? Political non-starter is something that politicians don't want to do because it jeopardizes their job, because they're forcing their constituents to do something that they don't want to do. But they don't have a right to be reelected. They have an obligation to serve the best interests of the country. And we might have fewer wars if we had draft to place to jeopardy the sons and daughters of the elites in the first socioeconomic quintiles rather than the third and fourth.
Yeah, but you do believe it's a political non-starter, or at least the political will doesn't exist right now, because I mean I do follow a lot of Gen Z accounts, just to see what they're talking about, and there is an idea that because recent legislation was opened up to like register you. I forget what exactly it was, but anyways, there's this thought that the draft might actually be reinstituted.
Here's the thing. First of all, everyone thinks about the draft in the context of the Vietnam draft, and the Vietnam draft was classically the worst, most unfair draft that we've had in the history of our nation. I mean, we had deferments and exemptions all over the place. We had political involvement. We didn't have a lottery. What if we had a lottery-based draft? Men and women, no exemptions, no deferments, with three options. One, you could go to the National Guard or the reserve components for 6 years. If you were mobilized and deployed in a war zone one time, your military obligation is complete. If you didn't want to do that, you could go to the active component, serve 2 years after basic AIT, the military obligation is complete. If you don't want to do either one and you want to go to college, that's great. You'd be in ROTC, and if you fail to get a commission in ROTC, you revert to option 1 or 2.
Yeah, and again, I do think that watching this past election, it seems to me that Americans as a whole generally don't base any of their votes on U.S. foreign policy. It's all domestic policy, and that's one of the reasons I think these wars were allowed to go on for 20 years. I mean, when I was 19, going through basic, I definitely kind of bought the Kool-Aid, but I did it for my own reasons. It was actually way more mercenary than patriotic at the time, if I'm being completely honest. And so, yeah, and of course, I've read like West Point papers saying like that is one of the main recruiting things, this the inability to kind of exist easily in this society, especially if you're from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So an equitable draft would be interesting. Again, do you see this recruiting crisis, though, getting resolved and kind of reconstituting the efficacy of the all-volunteer force?
No, as a matter of fact, there's no reason to believe that the current trends are going to be turn up. That the move from 30% to 15% and the move from 15% to 9% in the propensity to serve, or the qualifications and the propensity to serve respectively, are going to turn up. The other thing that's going to happen in the next couple of years, there's going to be a 10% drop in the demographic pool of people in the recruiting age.
Oh, because birth rates.
Exactly. So if anything, it's going to get worse.
That kind of seems insane to me, because it seems like policymakers in Washington, these war hawks, we can talk about a couple of Trump's cabinet, President-elect Trump's cabinet appointees, but it seems like there's some very irresponsible brinksmanship going on in the war in Ukraine, and very irresponsible brinksmanship going on over the Strait of Taiwan. Given this recruiting crisis, how does that impact what we're actually able to do. It seems like a lot of these politicians who are career politicians and they grew up and they started cutting their teeth career-wise in like the 90s. It seems like they think we still have the same kind of military influence, power projection that we had then. I personally, is not really an expert in this exact field, don't really see how they could be detached from that reality.
Well, this is where I say that America has an alligator mouth and a chipmunk ass. We have people who are the military-industrial congressional complex, the chicken hawks and the neocons with the alligator mouth, and we have the chipmunk ass that says that we can't recruit sufficient numbers. We don't have the industrial base to replace equipment. We're $35 trillion in debt. So if you don't have men, money, and material, how do you prosecute a war?
Well, that is not a lot of the political thought, personally, that I'm hearing coming out of Washington. Now, let's just play this quick video from our nominated Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, former, I think he was a major in the infantry, and he's now a Fox News anchor, and he is one of the people that I mentioned that have no self-reflection or introspection about what actually went on in the wars he fought in.
Ukraine. I could tell you what the end state is in Israel, and what's the only thing the American military and the American diplomats are doing right now? Trying to stop Israel from finishing the fight. Like, there's one thing that Israel could do: kill every last one of those Hamas mother now, and then the war stops. And by the way, Israel didn't start it. Like, that's how wars end. That's how peace breaks out. For thousands of years, somebody actually wins the war. And when they win the war, then there's a new reality, a new geopolitical reality. We don't fight that way. We let the lawyers lead. We let international institutions have too much say. And it percolates. I tell stories directly as a platoon leader, down to can you shoot, can you not shoot? Are guys being criminalized after the fact, put in jail? I mean, Donald Trump pardoned a bunch of guys I advocated for in his last couple of years in office. They killed the right guys in the wrong way, according to somebody. I'm done with that. Like, we need to fight total war against our enemies when we do. And yeah, you don't kill civilians on purpose, but you kill bad guys, all of them. You stack bodies. And when it's over, then you let the dust settle and you figure out who's ahead. But it turns out we're the ones with the big guns right now.
We're the ones with the big guns right now. Okay, a lot to unpack there. Interesting SecDef nomination. Your thoughts, General?
I got his book, The War on Warriors, and it's frightening. One thing struck me immediately when I got it when it was delivered to the house here. There are no blurbs. There are no endorsements on it. I think it was written for one reader, and the guy doesn't read, but he's Donald Trump. I think Hegseth is the military operates at three levels at least. Operates at the tactical, the operational, and strategic level. He may have some information and some background at the strategic level. I don't think he migrates to the operational. He certainly doesn't migrate to the strategic level. I think he's a nutcase, frankly.
I mean, yeah, I was wondering, what he was doing on division staff, just probably relegated to PowerPoint generation. But, I just... How, speaking of the strategic level, when an appointment like this happens, I guess all the general officers in the military are looking towards who the incoming Secretary of Defense will be. Like right now, it's currently Lloyd Austin, who actually has a lot of experience at the strategic level. And of course, the general staff is not a monolith, but how do you see this impacting the actual senior leadership of the U.S. military, this particular appointment?
I don't think they'll make it, first of all, but I think that the nomination is alarming because I think that it shows a complete disregard for the discipline, the morale, and the cohesion of the military itself. I mean, how can this guy impose discipline on the force when there was a violation of UCMJ? When he advocated for the release of the special forces. They admitted what they did. I mean, this is something that's crazy. He says that women shouldn't be part of the force. Women make up 24% of the military today. If it weren't for the military, if it weren't for women, the all-volunteer force would have collapsed 20 years ago. He talks about wokeness in the military. He goes on and on about it. There's no evidence that the wokeness in the military is a adverse consequence or an adverse impact on readiness and lethality. The guy he's an affront to good discipline and judgment.
So why do you think he was picked then?
Because he's a sycophant.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's just that simple. There's nothing in his background that would qualify him to be Secretary of Defense. Nothing at all. There's 2.3 million people who are part of the Department of Defense. It's an $800 billion budget every year. There's strategic alliances that the Secretary of Defense is part of. He has no skills in any of that, no experience. I mean, absent his sexual encounters and other personal flaws, I mean, the guy is not qualified. There's nothing in his background that qualifies him to be Secretary of Defense.
And so, aside from sycophancy, is there nobody at the defense establishment who's speaking to the incoming president about these things, about advising him, because I know he's changed his rhetoric about Iran, and I've read Brookings Institute and Rand Corporation reports and think tanks that are very pro-attacking Iran, and still it's not feasible from a military perspective. And I've done episodes on that, walking through those and the traditional thoughts surrounding that. But I guess the amount of hawks he's surrounding himself with is concerning. And what do you envision them accomplishing or trying to do? Because we literally cannot go getting into a shooting fight with Iran, which is a regional hegemon, with Russia, and definitely not with China. So is it all bluster?
Maybe into with all three. I mean, there's reason to believe that there's an alliance brewing between the three of them, and might include some others that weren't there before.
Yeah, I mean, since the outbreak of the war in Ukraine and the sanctions both placed on Russia and Iran, we're seeing a solidifying security relationship. North Korea is also in the mix. China with BRICS.
Providing 10,000 of troops, North Korea is.
Yeah. So I guess given all of this, given the recruiting crisis, given the lack of our industrial base to even make enough shells for the Ukrainian front, artillery shells for the Ukrainian front, it just seems kind of insane. And maybe I'm naive in the fact that it has to be just rhetoric, right? Or are you actually concerned that this could become policy, that troops could be deployed? I know there's been some restraint exercised by the military in its de-escalation games with Iran over the past year, but I don't know, what would a Trump presidency mean?
I don't know, but it's not a matter of rational thinking. It's a matter of hubris on the part of some people too. I mean, there's a thought, the exceptional nation and all that stuff that we spout. The exceptional nation might be the exceptional nation based on genocide, slavery, and intergenerational theft. That's hardly a source of strength to take on current near peer competitors.
So if this is kind of an expansive question, but if you could explain to the audience, just in simple terms, I guess why the United States, aside from the recruiting crisis is obvious, but why the United States can't mobilize against an enemy an adversary like China or even Iran?
Well, I think that first of all, the manpower. There are three things that I think are deficient. the manpower. We can't recruit to satisfy the peacetime needs. What would make us think we can induce soldiers or civilians to enlist in a wartime army? The second one is that we don't have the industrial base. You mentioned the inability to provide 155 shells to Ukraine in a limited war in one part of the world. We can't build subs. There's the incoming head of the incoming senior leader of the SAC of the Senate Armed Services Committee wrote a op-ed piece a few months ago that said that the Navy ought to go from a 300 ship Navy to a 355 ship Navy. Well, first of all, they can't build them. Secondly, we don't have the money. And third, where are you going to get the sailors? I mean, we're $35 trillion in debt and adding $1 trillion a year or more. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, but I guess they're still going to try it. Well, when I start to think it would be insane, and then I just remember the Iraq War, and I was like, oh yes, the same politicians, well, not all of them, but the same political apparatus and the same thought in Washington in terms of foreign policy still exists. And looking at the war in Ukraine, it doesn't seem like the Biden administration's in a game of brinksmanship right now. I mistrust Trump when he says he's going to end the war, because I don't think he has that power anymore. And it just seems like we can't afford to back down in Ukraine, because then NATO would lose credibility and power Russia. And we also can't stop supporting Israel now. And it seems like there's we've gone too far. There's an element of sunk cost fallacy, and we can't be seen to be weak, because once we are, the game is up. So how do you feel about that assessment?
Well, you mentioned Israel. I think that we're sleepwalking our way into a war in the Middle East, and Israel is wagging the dog. I often ask people that I deal with, what is the what benefit accrues to the United States from our quote unquote strategic alliance with Israel? It's nothing. We don't get anything out of it. But we're sleepwalking our way into a war here. The Israeli government today is the most conservative, and it's an apartheid government. It's not a democracy anymore. I mean, there's genocide in Gaza. There's Israel is on a two-front war today. That they're looking for peace in the Hezbollah in Lebanon, because they can't. The IDF is under extreme pressure today. But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and one of the most stark realities is that Israel laid out a bunch of operational and strategic objectives at the start, and they have accomplished 0 of them. And there's no end in sight. Ceasefires. Both proposals are a pipe dream. I believe both the one in Hezbollah and the one in Gaza. It's giving mission accomplished vibes. If the audience recalls when Bush landed on the aircraft carrier, and none of the stated goals in Iraq had been complete, and we still stayed there, and we're still there. So this will keep going on, and of course, they can't go toe-to-toe with Iran. There's a belief that the United States could, but fighting an imperial war across a continent in the Atlantic Ocean, so far from our borders, and the shock to the oil market, it just, again, I'm kind of bumping up against an ideological wall where I can't see it happening.
Well, I said we may sleepwalk our way into it. I mean, we're heading that way right now. I think one of the things, when we talked before about how we end up in these wars, I think that there ought to be a requirement that before we enter into any war, no matter how limited, Congress ought to be required to exercise their war powers. That they ought to declare war, and before they do it, there ought to be an open debate and the debate should be surrounded or based on the 8 points in the Powell Doctrine. We go to war We don't have an exit strategy. We don't have a mission. We don't have anything that says that the American people are supporting it. If you look at the 8 points in the Powell Doctrine, and you say, what if we applied those to Iraq? Would we have gone into Iraq? I don't think so. I would add two things to it too. That Congress would be required to predict or project how many people will die in the war and from what socioeconomic quintile they'll come.
Sound good?
There's a book out called The Casualty Gap by two scholars that identifies that the casualty gap is getting more and more wide between the socioeconomic classes going back to World War II. As we move through the Vietnam War and Korea and the war on terror in the last 20 years, the gap is getting wider and wider. And the other one is that they ought to have to predict or project what it's going to cost. I think that temper some of the war hawks.
Yeah, based off of what we saw, Peter Hegseth,
Jack,
who I obviously don't think is going to get confirmed, unless it's through like a recess appointment, maybe. But we're not going to get into U.S. machine politics in this episode because I know a lot of you guys are listening from outside the United States.
Speech with Bruce just a little while ago.
This is what it's about. This is what the holidays are all about. Building Lego sets in your room.
Here we go. Should be an interesting 4 years at least, if nothing else. So,
watch you lose your sanity over the fact that you can't.
I don't think that the powers that be have a vested interest in explaining any of this to the people. And so, just for context for y'all, when was the last time the U.S. Congress issued a white paper to declare war? It was Korea, or was it actually just World War II?
It's November though.
World War II.
Okay, cool. So it's just been on executive authority since then, essentially.
All right, let's move it up.
Well, checks and balances, am I right?
All right, let's move her up.
What other impacts do you see a Trump presidency having on the military, just in a general way?
Well, I think that there's some credibility issues. I mean, when the commander-in-chief will say that only veteran is a sucker and a loser, that's not a good recruiting issue. When he says that when he disparages a Gold Star family, it's not a good recruiting issue. And when he excuses convicted felons on the UCMJ, it's not a good message for the military. And if they have this board, they're talking about this board
so they wanted to get to the purge the military board, as some people are calling it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a loyalty oath that's to an individual rather than the Constitution.
There we go, that's better.
Yeah, and so just for context, y'all, the Trump team leaked. It seems like they leaked this to the Wall Street Journal in order to see if they could get away with it, see what the public response would be. I mean, Trump's team does leak a lot of stuff. And so does every incoming presidential team, just to test the waters with incoming policy to see if they can get away with it. Anyways, there's supposed to be a review board of senior former military commanders who are loyal to Trump to assess the loyalty and the competence. I think they couched it in the language competence and expertise of general and flag officers. So generals and admiral. I think it's 3 to 4 stars, but it probably won't stop there.
With a paint gun.
3 to 4 stars, yes.
And I guess they're couching it under a conversation that's been going on, at least that I've been exposed to in military literature for at least like 10 years, that there are too many general officers, that there's something called rank creep. And they cite sources like there's one general officer for 1,400 servicemen. Back in World War II, it was like 1 per 6,000. I don't really understand the argument, but that's how they're using it. Just like everything else the incoming administration is talking about, they're talking about like cutting funding, cutting people for the sake of
basic middle school
efficiency to blow through bureaucracy. Do you see that as a legitimate thing that they might actually be trying to do, or do you think it's more nefarious?
think it's more nefarious. I think that, there may be too many generals and there may be too many admirals. We may not hold them accountable as we should, but I think that it's more nefarious in that it's a means of bringing the military to heel and bringing it compliant with the administration and with Trump's views.
Crypto's crashing.
Yeah, I've been critical of some of the criteria we've used. I mean, we had 17 or 18 force bars to rotate through Afghanistan in that war. Every one of them went in and said that it's screwed up and I'm going to square it away. And as he was leaving, he said that victory's just around the corner. The next guy come in and say the same thing, and when he left, he'd say the same thing. But we haven't held people accountable. I mean, when we go back to the beginning of this session, we talk about the war performance. I mean, we're people been held accountable for losing wars. Paul Yingling wrote a piece about 15 years ago. Paul Yingling was a bright young colonel who wrote a thing that where he said that an individual soldier is more accountable for losing a rifle than an American general is for losing a war. I think that's something that we ought to look at. We hold these people up in a pedestal and say that they're wonderful and everything, but I think there's a case to say that not enough people have been held accountable and delivered consequences.
And it's still that same kind of like institutionalized thought that we're seeing now. There's this obsession that we still have having learned nothing from 20 years. That like, yes, you can assassinate Hassan Nasrallah in front of Hezbollah. You cut the head off the snake, it dies. I remember when we captured like Haji Mali Khan of the Haqqani network in Afghanistan, and like everyone got accolades, and we thought like this is really the turning point. We're going to roll up this whole ISI affiliated network that was operating in Afghanistan, and turns out didn't work. Like what really didn't change the situation. There's an obsession with decapitation strikes. That's part of our I wouldn't say doctrine, but like Western military thought, and it just doesn't exist for like a lot of these organizations that the U.S. and now Israel is fighting.
Well, let me give you a different perspective on that.
Okay.
Makes us think that taking out the head of the Hezbollah or whatever is going to be an issue and going to turn the tide. When every 12 months we change commanders.
Oh wow, okay.
What's the difference? What's the difference? Apply that standard to the question and then see what you can come up with.
Whoa, I had actually never considered that. Yeah, it's literally just a change of command.
Exactly.
Every professional military does it.
I'm just locking in. We're building Lego sets, and
there's more than enough qualified people who are hungry and want to take those positions in the terrorist ranks.
The boy starts building Legos. He just
doesn't
stop.
So
he doesn't stop.
This will continue.
I'm a Lego building
indefinitely. And again,
kids from Columbine,
recruiting crisis not gonna change as we've.
It's gonna get worse.
It's gonna get worse. And the zeal to join the military is not going to get better. Do you believe everything you've seen and heard? And were you still in the military under the first Trump presidency, General?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
No, I've been retired since 2006.
2006. Okay. Do you believe that a lot of his supporters see him as an anti-war candidate, an anti-interventionist candidate? I'm circumspect about that. I was wondering what your impressions were.
I don't know. I wouldn't predict anything with regard to Trump. I think he's mercurial and transactional, and I wouldn't predict anything.
Understood.
Dude, so nice.
And of course, the Biden administration has been more violent than I expected.
Today, you guys are
personally, but I think that's a separate issue. So going forward, how do you? Again, hard to predict anything going forward. I guess my last question is, if these recruiting issues can't be solved, first of all, do you think that they could reasonably effectively and practically be solved, especially in the context of, Trump is talking about deploying the military to enforce his deportation policies. Do you think, in the context of that, like U.S. service members would sign up to go be like roundup goon squads? And do you think that's something that will actually be put into action?
I think there will be some people who do that. I think there's some element of our society who would love to do that. I think that the mass of our society would not be willing to do that, and they would run into some trouble. I think that it would be a big mistake to use the military in that regard. But I'd also say that with regard to the recruiting issue, there are two things that saved the all volunteer force, and there's maybe one more rabbit to pull out of the hat. And the two things that saved it is that we've used women to fill a lot of gaps, and 24%. I mean, when the ADF went in, women were limited 2% of the military, no more than 2%. And they were limited they go no higher than 06 in rank. That's one thing. The other thing that saved the ADF is the demise of the Soviet Union. When 1991, we had 2.3 million people on active duty. Went down to 1.3 as a result of the decline of the Soviet Union. That was the peace dividend. What if we had to recruit to 2.3 million rather than 1.3? So I don't think there's maybe one more rabbit in the hat, but I don't think that it's going to be one that is a big fix. I think that there will be a tendency, or maybe a tendency to use citizenship and foreign nationals as a recruiting gap, fill a recruiting gap.
The use of foreign nationals reminds me of like late stage Roman legions. They couldn't recruit from the heartland anymore, so they had to go outside. And of course there was loyalty issues and a lot of other issues as well. What do you think that rabbit that may still hypothetically exist to pull out of the hat to save the all volunteer force is?
I think the rabbit itself is the accelerated recruiting of foreign nationals into our military with the citizenship. And you're exactly right. The Romans did it, and it was a disaster. There's a great book out, Are We Rome? I'd recommend that if you're interested in it, you can take a look at. But it didn't work out very well for the Roman Empire.
Yeah, and honestly, that clashes with this purported deportation policy and not letting in immigrants. So it seems like a cascade failure.
Immigrants, but only if they'd serve in the military, which makes it very, very mercenary.
2008, YouTube has been on.
Yeah, very mercenary, and like then you'd have to come up with a way to support their families who are also immigrants and going to be living inside the United States. It just seems like a huge mess and a cascade failure that there doesn't really seem to be any way out of.
Really long hair. Really long hair.
Nope.
Okay, cool. And finally, my final question for you is there a mechanism within the bounds of executive authority where the president could deploy National Guard forces in, like, honestly tactical operations on potentially American citizens in the name of his deportation policy? Because people say that could set a precedent for like the implementation of soft martial law.
Yeah, I think that if he declared a state of emergency or martial law, that he could. The thing that's going to help to offset that is governors who've already said that they won't have their National Guard participate in that, so there's going to be an issue there. But I think that he's going to try to do it, and it depends what who the Secretary of Defense is and who the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs is that they'll determine it. I think he'll try it. I think there's every reason. I mean, he said he'll try it.
Yeah, I get.
If you read Project 2025 too, it's in. I mean, he said that he'll try it.
Bad mom.
Well, we'll just see if our institutions are strong enough to resist it.
I see.
That's it. That's it. We have a weakening of the institutions. You know, I'm deeply concerned with the Senate and whether they give up their right to advise and consent. And I think that the court, especially the Supreme Court, is now compromised. So we have institutions that are weakened in the second Trump administration.
Well, and they're going to do. It seems like his cabinet and his supporters are going to do everything to undermine that. So we'll see if we can last another 4 years. I'm not sure the Democratic Party is capable of saving people for what they expect to be coming. So again, it's going to be a wild 4 years. I guess for people in the global South, there's one silver lining about the decline of U.S. imperium. It's that we have a massive military problem, and it seems like instead of turning outward, it's going to turn inward. So bad for Americans potentially.
We're really
better
early
for
on in
other
this
people.
thing. We've only
We'll
barely
see.
started.
In that generalizing statement.
All right,
The
so
global South will also be impacted more acutely by climate change than we will.
Yeah. So yes, everyone
Yes,
loses.
Eddie.
Yeah. Well, cheery conversation, General. Thank you so much for coming on. I know the recruiting crisis is a silver lining for a lot of people. Also disturbing for others, and it's kind of a thorny subject. And we appreciate you and your expertise coming in and laying it out for the audience.
My pleasure.
All right, y'all. That was Major General Dennis Leitch, and I will link his book and his articles in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next Monday. Don't know what the subject is going to be. Something wild always happens over the weekend. Cheers, y'all, and see you on the next one.
Naruto. Hello.
Welcome back to Football with Ben Roethlisberger. My name is Spence. And as always, I am joined here with two-time Super Bowl champion Ben Roethlisberger. There he is. Hey.
That's me.
Hey, that is you. And that's us.
That's us.
That's us, man. Good to see you, my brother.
That's us.
How are you? That is us back there, too. Do I have
In case you missed last week, that's us.
That's a great shot. I didn't set that up for
It's
that.
going to be our new merch table.
If you're only listening to this on Spotify, go to YouTube.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. By the way, this is just non-copyrighted.
This is a red-hot copper ball heated to 1,000 degrees Celsius or 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Touching it would have made this video end very differently. Now, watch as it's placed on sand, but nothing too dramatic happens. So, let's switch it up. We'll dig a bit of sand out, place the ball inside, and pour some water over it. Instantly, the water vaporizes on contact. The intense heat boils the water immediately, yet the sand stays intact. This means sand is so good at blocking heat, even a 1,000-degree copper ball can't melt it. But did you know, this technique could actually make sand fire? This is a red-hot copper ball heated to 1,000 degrees Celsius or 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Touching it would have made this video end very differently. Now, watch as it's placed on sand, but nothing too dramatic happens. So
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't. My mom wants to talk to them.
Like they're really good on test scores. This was I used to buy the Star Wars battle packs because those were like $10, and my parents would be like, "Yeah, I'll buy you that one."
Actually,
it's like, but Dad,
I don't know if they're both.
Dad, I want the Tony Fam. Oh, thank you.
Oh no, it's okay.
No, I told my parents, I was like, yeah. No, but I want the big Lego shit. Son, I can't afford that. Don't you freaking make me buy you those big Lego sets, you greedy little goblin. It's like, oh, but Dad, I want the Inquisitor dropship with all the freaking gizmo, with the blimbo spimbos, you know, the big.
Everyone else sleeping? Why don't you
What do
play
you mean?
Valorant with me?
Why don't you play a game and I'll watch you?
Oh, how many games do I have to win before you play with me?
Well, I mean, you haven't won any so far.
I haven't lost
Whenever
any
I'm watching you.
No, they're remaking a lot of Lego sets from the old days.
Let's focus on winning
We
one.
do indeed
okay?
stand Legos. This is a Lego household. No Mega Blocks. No Mega Blocks. No Mega Blocks.
You have to show me some good gameplay.
I used to have
and then
Mega
hype
Blocks.
me up to play
You
that.
know they had the Halo
you know?
Mega Blocks. I actually kind of liked those. I wasn't a big
never
fan,
play all the
but
time.
the Halo Mega
Wait, you're not
Blocks
gonna
were
stream
pretty
that right
nice.
now?
Like when my
I thought you were trying to get gold this season. What happened?
Got gold. Well, I don't know. The last 2 seasons, I don't have enough gold bands.
parents were like, "We can't afford Legos
Diamond.
today." Why did you ask for socks as a kid? Why would you ever ask for socks? I don't know. I don't know, chat. Like, why would you ever ask for a sock? Like, your parents should just buy you socks anyway.
I don't think you've ever been platinum or diamond.
Anyway.
That's why I want to do it.
Yeah, let's see. There's this Chinese sounding music. Like, it sounds like Chinese music. Okay, that's pretty. What the? I didn't know that was there. What did they? What the? When did they add that? I don't remember them adding that. Hold on. When did they? What page did they add that on? Oh, I see. Okay, so they added that. I didn't finish this step. Where's the black piece? There's like a black piece. Ah, there it is. There. There's this piece and 2 of these golden ones. Ah, my ear. That's good. Okay, we're good on that. Okay, grab that. Grab some of these. Grab some of these. There's always a hair. There's always a hair. Okay, we're good. Yes. Oh, nice. Place this here. Our first of the stickers will be applied. Sticker number 5. Sticker number 5 is being applied. I think these are, Careful, SpongeBob. Yes. Okay, we did. Die highs. That looks pretty. That looks like a pretty decent application of a sticker. I think I did pretty well. Women's stockings. Yeah, I'd ask for. I never really asked for games. I only ever bought like my parents only ever bought me like a few games because my parents weren't a very video gaming household. We were like mostly like nah, I don't think you should play video games, son. You might get addicted to them. You know, playing on that the Wii, that game, what the heck is this? There's like a little thing. Yeah, there we go. That's right. Yeah, I was right. I know what I'm doing. I know what the design theory is. There we go, that's better. That's doing pretty well, actually. I think, this here, there's a few bricks on it. Oh, it's backwards, okay. Okay, take the third. We're taking number 4. The hot rod. Who doesn't love Kai? I love Kai. Personally, my favorite was Kai. Second favorite was, what was my second favorite? I think it was Nah, it was always just Kai. I like Kai. Kai is like such a good character in Ninjago. I always like Kai. What's that look? Yeah. Well, you can't complain with that. At least when you get addicted to toys, you can resell the toys. If you get addicted to nicotine, you can't resell the nicotine because you used it up all. Oh my gosh! How many of them are gonna be the same song? Have a holly jolly Christmas. There's so many hairs. Why is there so many hairs here? You guys can't see the hairs, but there's like a lot of freaking hair. I think they're my own hairs. Like, I don't know where these are all coming from. Not like I have anybody else in here. Oh my gosh, I knew it! I knew there was another hair. Yeah, brother. So many hairs. This thing's gonna be covered in... Here we this one is 6. You remember that old Lego theme that was like the one with the mechs? Sorry, I'm like focusing because of the stickers. The stickers are always like the hardest part of this set because it's like very intricate. Wait till we get to freaking building Gundams. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever build Gundams. Gundams, chat. Like, do you feel that? Do you feel like... Alright, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good, right, chat? Yeah, this is Lego Ninjago. It says right there! It says right there! It's right there on the screen. Mizuki. Yeah, this one came in a 3-pack. Well, with the gun? The gun doesn't come with the Blauhaus, by the way. You can't build Transformers, you transform Transformers. What are you talking about? The English people, apparently English people like figgy pudding. I'm sorry, Kami, I didn't answer that earlier. I was busy with these Legos, with the... Alright, how many more? We have 100. We have another 100 pages to go. There's so much stuff. Alright. Oh, I see. Put that one in the middle. Oh my gosh! Another hair! Oh my gosh, I was gonna freaking eat the crap. I see another hair. Oh wait, this is the same thing. Where's the... There it is. Where are all these hairs coming from? I think these are the same hairs. Oh my god. If it's not one thing, I have to deal with a different other thing. And it's apparently hairs. And it's not even a good... By the way, chat, by the way, I think I've won the rat wars. I have very long hair, I think. I think it's very long. It's actually pretty long. It's like the average hair is like this long. Like, how big was the hair? It was this big, chat. This big. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Yeah. We're doing decent progress. 5 centimeters, that's not that big. It's like pretty short actually. I know what 5 centimeters looks like. I don't know what. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Get out. Okay, we're on to bag 2. Three centimeters. Alright. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get that bag out of here. Oh, I think we're still not on to the next character. Okay, there's another character in this, I know. There's like tiny bricks in here. You mean non-fiction? Like, I'm real, chat. I'm real. I put my feet here. I'm gonna do it like this. I don't know. About 5 inches for me. 5 inches? I don't know. I don't know if I can handle 5 inches. How long is my hair? I think it's like about 6 to 7 on average. It just bunches up and it starts to become wavy at the edge of my head. Only 1. Okay. What the? Why is this one? This is just stuck to my finger. Oh, there it is. That was weird. Got stuck to my finger. There's a hair. Another hair. Another hair. Ah! What a manly scream. It's like, ah! My fingers keep getting stuck in between. My gloves keep getting stuck in between these things. I gotta get like a fine mesh gloves. Let's see here. What am I looking at? Oh, I see. We're making legs. Okay. No, it is like this. This. Oh, by the way, this is a forearm. There's 4 arms, I think, on this thing. Can I do polls on Twitch, by the way? I don't know if I can do polls on Twitch. Yeah, never tried it before. Oh, I see. They'll bring you peace today. Oh, hello, Gatamon. Gatamon? Gatamon. Oh. This is too close to my crotch breaks. What's going on, chat? Yeah, let me see here. Wi-Fi. There's a Transformers Lego set. Oh wait, there's the what is it? The Optimus Prime. Is that still available? How much does that cost? I don't know, chat. Like, I don't know if I can afford that. That's a really expensive set. But it'd be so fun to play with. It's like you got the Ninjago. It's like, ah! Oh no, there's a gigantic robot mech. I'm not a robot mech. I'm Optimus Prime. Bang! 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 Thank you for subscribing, Fairy. If you have anything to say, I'd be very happy to hear it. Like, I don't get too many Twitch viewers, so. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Let's see here. We're building this part here. So this. Okay. That's it? Okay. Oh, I see, I see. Oh, I already know what's gonna happen next. Yep, that's exactly what I thought would happen. The freaking getting nightmares from all these songs. Let's see here. I do love a nice Technic exterior build. Half-Life 2 Femboy comment? What? Do those even exist? Good boy, Felix. Nostalgia. I have a lot of Lego sets. Like I have a lot. There's like there's only 3 over there, and with these 2, it's gonna be 5. That's gonna be two Kai mechs. No, two Kai sets, and there's how many Kais do I have? I have 2 J's. I have 2 Zanes. I have 2 Nias. No, I have 2 Nias and 1 J. Okay. Yeah, that's what's it. No, I have 2 J's. I have 2 Nias, 2 J's, 2 Zanes, and a single Kai. And I have like 5 bad guys. I don't have that many bad guys. They give me a lot more of the good guys than it. I hate that. I always hate that about Lego sets. They never give me enough enemies to fight.
Let me know if your stream calendar or not.
Right now, bro.
I can take on 5 skeletons.
What do you say?
Ornaments.
5 skeletons in a fight, right?
Oh.
I can take on the whole.
Dude.
In a fight,
Imagine
right?
If like in high school today, like we could become professional like streamers.
Oh yeah, I'd be rich.
What was it? Yeah.
We'd all be rich and famous.
We were actually really good.
We were. We would have streamed all of our backyard football games and Friday football games. Like we would.
Yeah, it's so weird. You can't do any of it. You couldn't even do that thing. Shit, like you couldn't even like put that shit on the internet.
Nope.
I mean, streaming
5
things.
combine soldiers?
Seems
I think
awesome.
I can take him. Ryan Gosling. I hate doing face cams because it's like always such a like I'm gonna get shot kind of situation. What the heck is it? There's like supposed to be a PC. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Found it. Found it, chat. Okay, we're barely at 30. Page 30 of 100 and something. 130, maybe. So we're like only barely a third there. But it's not about the destination, chat. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about the journey. My legs hurt. My legs hurt. Folding them. Holding them again.
You know what you should get, Jared? You get like one of those like 3D printed ghost things for
this goes in
Destiny.
Not here. It goes in here.
What?
I don't know, it'd be cool. You have like a little ghost. Peter Dinklage guy.
Oh my god.
Just carry it around with you.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's not that weird.
This feels like a freaking tavern.
Be like a
music
cool little like knick-knack
some
thing
kind
on the
of
shelf
video
or
game.
something.
Doesn't feel like. Oh, it's the pelvis. I see. No, I did it wrong. No, like this. Ah, I love it. I love like the hip swivel on a good ratchet. Ah. Alright, I'll slide forward a little bit. My legs get tired. My legs like it's very constricting actually. The other day I had these constriction leggings on. Why do I have this off screen though? By the way, also I've been getting a lot of bubble wrap. I don't know. Can you hear this? Hold on, let me see if you can hear the bubble wrap. I'm gonna make an ASMR stream in the future. Maybe I'll do something with that with the ASMR. Oh, I think I know what to do. Okay. Yeah, I know what to do. Okay. Yeah, I've got an idea. I've come up with the idea what I'm gonna do with all this bubble wrap. It's very solid sounds. Who doesn't love a nice ratchety sound on these things? Let's see here. Can you see my legs, chat? The Bible wrap. Here, let me where's a nice? Do I have a cushion? I don't have any cushions actually. I have my Snorlax beanbag there, but I'm not gonna sit on that. That's like too large. Too large. It's gonna take up too much space. Probably I'll have to switch positions every once in a while. It's like it really hurts my bum, my fat bum, despite the fact that like there's a lot of meat back there. Let's see here. This here and this here. Okay, that goes there. Oh, it's pretty nice. I like that. That looks pretty sleek. Sleek for a groin. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Come on, get in there. Don't you do that. Come on, come on. What's going on here? It's not going on. There you go, there you go. There you go, I got it. It went in. Alright, where is it? I have a black one here. There we go. Oh yeah, nice, nice, very nice. Ding, ding, this song again. We're playing the same song again. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm changing the song. I'm changing the. Let me see. What is the song? Changing the song. Dance to the sugar bomb there. Not initiative. Give me that. Stepping up on that stage, we hyped him up and say, First Bloods, fine line. 9 First Bloods, 25 and 15. He's pretty good. He's going to be tough to match that performance as the series goes on, but you know what? I think there'll be a few challengers. Hold on. T1 Starman.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a big one. Now we're all in a very uncertain phase of our lives right now. Everybody's scared, everybody's worried about the future, and unrelated to that, Muppet Vision 3D is closing down at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It took all of us by surprise this morning, as I'm recording this, yesterday, as you're watching this, when Disney announced that Muppet Vision 3D and the Muppets Courtyard and that whole area back there by Mama Melrose and the old gift shop will be closing to make way for Monstropolis. But not only did they announce that, they announced that another change would be coming to Hollywood Studios in the form of Rock and Roller Coaster. It seems like they're not going to be changing the name, but they are, instead of having Aerosmith perform for us, the Muppets will be taking over Rock and Roller Coaster. And like a lot of you, I had a lot of strong feelings about this when I first read this blog post. I was really worried, I was really scared, I was really mad. The more I thought on it, the more I sat on the idea, the more I'm beginning to...
That looks pretty cool already.
Be okay with it, but it's under very specific circumstances. If Disney fulfills all of these specific points on my checklist that I have, then I will be okay, and only then will I be okay with Muppet Vision 3D closing. We need to talk about this. I'm pushing this week's video to next week. We're talking about Muppets right now. Now, for those of you who haven't had the chance yet, or you just don't care, I'm going to go ahead and read the Disney Parks blog post from yesterday to all of you here, so you can understand what's going on. Get ready to open the door because Mike and Sully are coming to town. That's right, humans will be able to enter the world of Monsters, Inc. when it is added to the south side of Disney's Hollywood Studios. Building off the exciting announcements from last summer's D23, the new land will include the coaster we've all dreamed of, a suspended ride recreating the door vault scene, plus dining and shopping, and a whole new theater show. Now, at said D23, they showed 2 pieces of concept art, one with Sully greeting guests in what appears to be Muppets Courtyard, and another that looks like it could fill in the space of Animation Courtyard, you know, where Star Wars Launch Bay is, Disney Junior Live on Stage, etc. and etc. But Disney said to make way for the monsters, Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and more of their friends will be moving right along to Sunset Boulevard. But there's more to the story. The Muppets will be taking over Rock and Roller Coaster, teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a rock and musical festival. I have more questions now than I have ever had in my entire life. So here's the deal. Muppets Courtyard, Grand Avenue, all the way back to Mama Melrose, gone. Not necessarily torn down to the ground, but rethemed in the front at least to Monsters Inc. But the further back you go, the more new show buildings you'll get. The Monsters Inc. roller coaster is going to need its own really big show building, so that is going to be from the ground up, and it'll probably be really close to the Rise of the Resistance show building now that I'm thinking about it. And the Muppets will no longer be in front of Galaxy's Edge, they'll be over by the Tower of Terror at the Rock and Roller Coaster. And I am extremely concerned as to what that means for the future of Muppet Vision 3D. We know Muppet Vision 3D is going to close, but I'm talking about the film itself. What is Disney going to do with Jim Henson's last work? Muppet Vision 3D is a piece of history. What are we going to do with it? Disney did say in the Parks blog the following, though, that may give some of you some hope, or for me, it's Disney Plus. They're gonna put it on Disney Plus. Let me read it. Skipping ahead a little bit, as we move forward with these changes, we are having creative conversations, have a lot of them, Disney, and have them quickly, and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future. My brain immediately goes to them uploading Muppet Vision 3D to Disney Plus and calling it a day. And that is not what I want to happen. In fact, just building on what I said earlier, in the concept art, you can see the Rise of the Resistance show building. They put the show building in the concept art. Disney never does that. It's nearly touching the facade, the queue for the Monsters, Inc. door coaster. I do not think that this concept art shows the show building for the door coaster. So these things are going to be back to back. It's going to be like Indian Pirates at Disneyland for those of you who are watching this from California. How does it feel to have the better resort now? It's okay, they still don't have Epcot. It's not all bad. The Parks blog continues on to say, we know so many of you share our love for the Muppets and know their energy will be a perfect fit for this coaster. I agree, I'm a fan of the Muppets, and it's a very energetic coaster. Plus, as the first Disney ride to ever feature the Muppets, there's sure to be laughter, screams, and new tunes for this attraction for fans to enjoy throughout the adventure, and plenty of Muppet-themed merchandise on Sunset Boulevard. Muppet-themed merchandise that has me happy. However, new tunes. Why are we doing new tunes? The Muppet? Yeah, are we acting like the Muppets don't have a massive backlog of music you can use for this ride? I'm confused here. Now, there's a lot of phrasing in this announcement that is very nerve-wracking. It makes me nervous. One, them looking into ways and having conversations about potentially preserving some form of Muppet Vision 3D. That doesn't sound too comforting to me. But Disney is right in saying that this is the very first ever Muppets ride. Muppet Vision 3D was a show, an attraction. This will be a ride that you board a ride vehicle and you experience. The thing is, the Rock and Roller Coaster doesn't have much of physical pre-show or effects that you can see while you're on the actual coaster. I think that if Disney ditches the screen and substitutes in Muppet animatronics like we have over at Muppet Vision for the pre-show, that would be the best case scenario, but I just know they're going to do a screen. I know they're going to do a screen because it's so much easier. They shouldn't. I'm calling my shot right now, though, that they will. Disney, please, I'm begging you, prove me wrong. More Muppet animatronics. It would be such a massive waste if you go all the way down Sunset Boulevard to the Rock and Roller Coaster featuring the Muppets. Like I said earlier, it doesn't seem like they're changing the name. I think it's just going to be the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. And you go inside to experience this Muppet attraction and you don't see a single physical Muppet. I feel like that would completely ruin the hype. Yeah, the roller coaster is still a roller coaster. Also, what if kids are too young to ride the roller coaster and they like the Muppets? What are they going to do then? That brings in another potential way that Disney could preserve Muppet Vision 3D, and that's by what I think they should do, just moving it. Just move Muppet Vision. That whole showcase, Sunset Showcase, I believe it's called. I've never been over there, with Lightning McQueen and the Racing Academy, soon to be the Villains show. Once Villains Land opens up, you'll have your Villains area to go visit, take the Villains show down, and put Muppet Vision 3D back in its place. That way we can have Monstropolis over where Grand Avenue sort of is now. You have the Muppets roller coaster, and you still have Muppet Vision 3D. I think that is the best possible outcome, is if at the end of the day, after all is said and done, we still get all three of these things. Monsters Inc., the Muppets roller coaster, and Muppet Vision 3D, all in Hollywood Studios where they belong. I want that to be what happens, but that's not what's going to happen. It's going to go on Disney Plus. And then there's that one part of the Disney Parks blog post that has me both intrigued and worried. It's the part that's stating that the Muppets will be teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a rockin' musical festival. What does that mean, Disney? Tell me more now, right now. If that means that the Muppets are going to
By
be
the way,
singing
systematically
classic Disney
correct
songs
where
that
we're
everybody
filming,
knows and loves and can
Ninjago
sing along to, that's a terrible idea. Disney, please do not do that, okay? It works for the Country Bear Jamboree. I gotta admit, I really do like the new version of the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. However, I think that the Muppets should be singing, God forbid, Muppet songs in the Muppet attraction. Now, if they want to have, in their words, music's biggest stars, you could have Taylor Swift and Kermit the Frog singing the Rainbow Connection, then I think we might be cooking with some serious gas. I think that might actually be a great idea. Honestly, I think a really interesting way Disney could do this is have popular musical artists record songs with the Muppets. You have your Sabrina Carpenters, your Post Malones. I'm reading off the Billboard Top 100 right now because all I listened to was Bo Burnham, and he is writing music for the Sesame Street movie that's going to be released soon, so it's not impossible. But then you have the problem of it immediately aging the attraction, 5-10 years down the road. Some of these stars may not be as relevant as they are today, so do you just re-record these songs, or do you have only the Muppets sing them? So that's the problem I think you have with bringing in music's biggest stars. Music's biggest stars, they're always changing, so you never know quite who's gonna stick around. Or you could just bring in the classic bands, the ones who are already musical legends, and have them record songs with the Muppets for the attraction. You could go either way on this, but honestly, I think that if they brought in live celebrities, bringing in the older ones who are already established, ones who are permanently music legends, Tenacious D's, that would be the best way to do this attraction. The best way, obviously, is to just keep Muppet Vision. Emphasis on keeping Muppet Vision somewhere else. It can just move somewhere else. I am, however, curious to see what this Muppets ride will entail. And Cosmic Rewind does a really good job of putting show scenes in the actual roller coaster, but it doesn't go as fast as Rock and Roller Coaster does at certain points, so the Disney's gonna have to work something out there. See, but now we're getting into blue sky, we're sort of getting into armchair Imagineering. I just wanted to talk about this release that Disney did this morning. I wanted to talk about it because I'm worried, okay? I'm nervous and I'm scared for the future of the Muppets at the Disney parks. If they brought Muppet Vision back to DCA, also that'd be another, little pat on the head from me, Disney. Oh, and don't even get me started on the potential for holiday overlays for this new Rock and Roller Coaster. Muppets Christmas Carol songs during the holiday season. Muppets Haunted Mansion songs during the Halloween season. I mean, this writes itself, Yellow Shoes. Call me up if you need any more ideas. I got tons of them. People mover! Now, really quick before I go, I do want to discuss the Monstropolis concept art very, very quickly, because it has some things in there that have some potential implications for other parks at Walt Disney World, and implications for the future of the Disney parks as a whole. And more specifically, okay, I'm gonna get to the point here. Told myself I'd never do this again. Tomorrowland. The concept art, believe it or not, may have implications for Disney World's Tomorrowland. I'm not kidding. Here it is. I've shown it multiple times in this video, but this is what it looks like. I'm gonna hold here for a second, take it all in. You can see that Harryhausen's has replaced Mama Melrose. That'll be interesting. Another dedicated sushi bar at Walt Disney World, not at Epcot, potentially with some spooky monster-like sushi rolls. Fine, sure. Look closer though. Is there anything in this concept art that is strange to you? Perhaps it's the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor sign that is plastered on this billboard. Now this is one of two things. It's either Disney reusing assets because Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor already exists, already has promotional material made for it from the show over at the Magic Kingdom. It would make sense to reuse some of the assets for this piece of concept art. And before I get your hopes up, I just want to let you know that this is probably what it is. This is probably just Disney reusing an asset to fill out the concept art. However, friends, it could be something else. Potentially, Disney could maybe be considering moving Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor over to Disney's Hollywood Studios and using the space that is currently occupied by the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor in Tomorrowland for something completely different, some new attraction. And that, I think, would be great. Now, we know that Disney isn't averse to having the same IP at different parks, like, for example, the Seas with Nemo and Friends at Epcot and the Big Blue World, Big Blue and Beyond at Disney's Animal Kingdom. That's a lot of Nemo. Or Toy Story Midway Mania, nope, It's just Toy Story Mania at Hollywood Studios and all of Toy Story Land, and then Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin over at the Magic Kingdom. There's different IP in different parks, but sometimes they do cross over. So if they didn't get rid of Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor and move it to Hollywood Studios, that would make sense. However, I think they should. But that's just me. That's just me talking as a Tomorrowland fan. It's not like you're going to reopen the People Mover at the Magic Kingdom. It already exists. Just put something else there because we have a whole Monsters Inc. land at Hollywood Studios. Although they've still refused to move Star Tours, even though they're sort of dropping that canon aspect of Galaxy's Edge slowly over time. So you never know. I want to know from you, my friend, what do you think about Muppet Vision and Muppets Courtyard going away forever and the Muppets being moved over to the Rock and Roller Coaster? I feel really bad for people who don't like roller coasters. Even me sometimes, I don't feel like I'm up for going on Rock and Roller Coaster, but I do want to get my Muppets fill when I'm in Walt Disney World. So I do think Muppet Vision needs to live on, continue on somewhere else at the resort. Just having it be tied to a roller coaster that some people might not want to go on is really sad. But again, I do want to know from you, what are your thoughts on the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets and Monstropolis taking over the former Muppet Vision 3D? Do you think they should move Muppet Vision 3D? Are you okay if they upload it to Disney Plus? Maybe do something with the Apple Vision Pro. I know some people have that. I'm not paying for that to watch Muppet Vision 3D though, no matter how much I love it. What are your thoughts? I want to hear down in the comments below. But until we get more info.
I like this one. This one's one of my favorite songs from Leeway.
Have you ever heard of the Cobra effect?
The way, but for T1, Buzz is on fire. Izu in a new role as well. Let's see if they can step their Pearl up to new heights. 1-0 advantage for T1 coming into this map, but this is, of course, the map pick of Cloud9.
Berlin, are you still with us? Got to make sure. They're ready for this one. We are going to be looking at that aggressive position from Izu, looking to get up in the face of the opponents. As said, this defensive side needs to be disrupted. You've got a Neon and a Yoru. He's looking for a pick. Maybe an attempt to get out of there. It doesn't look like that's an option. He's just going to have to try and stick around. He's been cleared eventually, and well, it's going to be the one and done.
Oh, he was caught by surprise, but still able to get the one across the line. Better than it could have been. A lot of presence, though, from C9. The B side is wide open for business. Stack's going to rely on a quick recon to bridge the gap, give them a kill or two, but it's avoided, and a step out from Rossi is gorgeous. All down to Sylvan. He impressed us on the previous map, but this would blow us away.
Yeah, the Rossi revolver. Pulling out that Sheriff and just landing two crazy shots. He's been so good in these pistol rounds. Silva! What is that? 3 kills in a blink of an eye, and now it comes down to the 1v1. He had his moments in that first map, was a superstar, but clearing out Zephyr is not going to be easy, and thankfully for C9, there was a safe pair of hands to make sure that didn't get out of control.
That head has some strong grip.
I don't think I can take much more of that. Let's calm it down. C9.
No, let's slow it down. I want to see that again.
No. It was nice on the first, the read on the second, and right back to the same angle.
I think most players wouldn't even have the sensitivity to do that. No, either that or he's just broken his wrist.
My wrist hurts looking at that. What a phenomenal play. And yeah, well, I said if he wins, even just that attempt, that blew me away. Phenomenal. Now 1-0 for C9 nonetheless. They found the pistol, and the impact of Sylvan's play will not be felt. Perhaps the ultimate orbs, but that's about it. Vic, he's ready. He's spotting the walk up. Although we've seen Izu tuck into the corner already. In the pistol round, he showed us that he wants to take advantage of these nasty little spots. And it's no different here in round number 2. A kill or two would be huge, but he is immediately checked.
I was about to say, yeah, doing that in back-to-back rounds, sure, it's a different spot. C9 are already aware. They are definitely going to be checking every single aggressive spot. And okay, he'll waste some time going forward, and maybe if he's quicker on the trigger, he can get out of there with Yoru utility, but I feel like it's been made very clear what's going to be coming out from him. Not a bad start, though. A couple of kills coming off the back of the Classics. This was a minor investment for the side of T1. Anything more would be truly worrying, but in the end, they are going to end up retrieving those remaining rifles. But this is where the going should get a little bit tougher for the side of Cloud9. You're going to have the rifles across the board.
Am I? No, it doesn't matter. Does it matter?
Oxy's got a Bucky,
Like,
which, I'll be honest,
I don't really answer what my sexuality is. That's
all you really need to know in the round.
it's not a
We've
bad
seen
question,
so
I
many
just don't answer it
audacious,
with, like,
ridiculous plays
it leaves
with this gun.
Leaves too little mystery.
In fact, he's now giving it to Rossi. See, Rossi is the type of teammate you want. He has just gone, you take my rifle while playing Neon, and I'll take your Bucky. Oh, I'll take my rifle back.
He'll have that one, or he'll have a chance to if they can take Izu out of the equation.
No.
Done a good job of that. Buzz tagged up on the cross as well.
Right.
Good damage dished out. A C9 early
Oh, we're
on.
building the head.
The options
We're
for
gonna
Buzz
give
to
this
leave
robot
this
some
position
head.
will be limited.
Yes.
There's stars coming back online. Sylvan now has one to play with, but in a precarious position, having pushed up behind. T1 have them boxed in.
That head, chat.
They know the play is coming to be. The drone will only further confirm it. And at this point, all they have to do is sit and wait. If they go back on the C9 side, if they try to take it to A, and Sylvan's going to spot that immediately. A 3-man hold. And they're walking right into it.
Oh, they shot the dart for Buzz, but he still ended up being revealed anyway. A cleanup with Meteor remaining on the site. He wasn't necessarily the danger man that we're used to seeing. They're going to try and run it all the way back. Now, the player holding off on the cross is gone. The Sylvan is definitely going to hear these steps. He might even be able to get there on time. He's hearing absolutely everything. The trip being spotted. Can he take one with him? No. Vic's going to bypass. This does allow Meteor to hightail it the entire way to the other side of the site, and he still has some utility to delay them a little more. Landing the shot on the player with the spike could be enough, but they're just about going to get that plant in.
Yeah, Sylvan has to fight his way through, and the spike's already planted. That means there's a firing squad awaiting a high-low setup that puts C9 back to winning ways. This is the same squad that we saw up against G2. Strong starts in the early half. Remember, last map, even picking up a pistol wasn't enough with an immediate answer from T1, and that could have been the difference maker in a game that's 13-10. Now, C9 have that same wind back in their sails. They're not, for now at least, going to see too much of a challenge in round 4. T1 light investment.
I don't know if you heard that. He basically said exactly what I wanted to say. Beautiful call. It's
like
a
a lot of
super late round switch up from Rossi. But okay, let's now go all the way to the back with 30 seconds left. It's a risk again, but you can see the faith this team currently has in their in-game leader. Again, a guy who's just joined this roster. They are fully behind him.
Oh, nice shot by Oxy. Last round, there was only a couple seconds left when the spike went down. They're not looking to keep that same pace here. Straight into the B site, and the plant secured with a 5v1, and the one has a stinger. Nothing to be found by T1. Indeed, the threat's minimal. A C9 put a familiar 4-0 lead on the board.
Yeah, pace change. Again, the expectation is there will be aggression. This is just
crazy.
It's so difficult to land the shots on the Neon. This is the thing that people sort of love and despise about this agent. It's just the movement you're able to get away with. And that's the thing, starting out on this attack side, it was always going to be difficult. Like, you're running up against that double duel.
Like 3 hours
For Team
long.
1, it means they have to try and pressure, they have to try and get in these firefights.
Yeah, we're barely
and
halfway
Oxy
through
is
this.
more than happy with that.
There's like
An
another
immediate
100
removal
pages.
of any utility, and again, the pace just continues. Izu is ready and
There's
waiting with an
another 100
operator,
pages
but
of
he's got to
have
be
to
careful
go
he doesn't
through.
get caught. He's already being wrapped
And
on.
that's just this
Luckily,
one. We have
Sylvan has his
another one
back.
here. We have a
Solid work.
second one I have
But
to
the damage
build.
has been done.
This is
Izu
a
down to
long
5. That op
freaking
now.
video to make.
One hit to most
Oh my
weapons.
gosh,
A
chat.
very
No.
late lurk coming
Also, I
up.
still
Well,
need to make the
there's a
freaking
minute
video
13
for
on the
today.
clock, but with how
Need to make
quickly
the-
they've taken
it's
full
not
control
real.
of the site. T1 are looking to push past that cosmic divide and take the space. All that has to be done is to hold the line. Buy time for Moose to wrap all the way around. Just now, making it into heaven. Rossi, Vic, doing their best, and they bought enough time. Moose has now come onto the scene, and the 5 HP operator has to swing into Moose, holding the angle. Gate crash across. He doesn't know if it's a fake or not. The information found with the hat off the head. Just one bullet needed, and it's landed through the cage. Another round for C9. They hold strong as these early aggressive stances are working wonders.
I like it. You've seen them be slow and methodical, take it to the last second, and then you see these fast-paced hits, especially in back-to-back rounds. Like when you do it versus an eco, a team might go and read into the fact, okay, they've done that because our weapons are low. There's no way they'll do that again. An instant null command and straight down middle, just removing any utility that could have been there, that could have caused them issues. I don't know if we could get a camera on them. They're now doing their stretches as well. If that's not going to get in their heads of the opponent, just like almost sit there while they're stressing about what they're going to do to try and change. And they're doing stretches.
Zeppa on the end of the line, though. Rusty's leading the stretches, and then he's just kicking back, relaxing,
Chilling.
taking a breath. Well, a timeout called by T1 after a successful first map with very strong starts to each half. We now see them 5-0 down. It's T1 that have to climb back and avoid the deja vu of last time they played this map as well, where they faced the same kind of domination on the other side.
It's difficult for them as well. Like a lot of the time so far, we've seen these hits towards the B site, and then if there's resistance, late switch up. The problem is they haven't had a lot of utility really to delay them. It's been Izu who's been the point of contact almost every single time. And there's been so much just forcing him into awkward positions, be it just Oxy taking space. You might look at him 2 and 4 down the board. He's just been annoying. Like he's taken ground and then someone else has been able to get an opener for it. And then in the late round, they've been sublime. Here he goes again, straight off the bat, forcing them off positions, taking space towards this A side. The rest of the team very far behind, but they are yet to deal with this man, even going to meet his counterpart. Wow, it's a little bit of Bucky style for Buzz, but is there more behind it? Okay.
They've gotten the kill with the Nano. Meteor goes down to Zeppa, though, who was holding strong till Buzz stepped up. The gun fingers finding a fuse, zapping these players out of the round, and maybe C9 soon to taste defeat. For the first time here on Pearl, T1 are putting a round on the board against C9, 5-1. And it is Buzz, the hero, that steps up to the plate, more than doubling his kills in that round. It's good to see him back on the board. This is what we were expecting, but maybe not to start out the kill streak with a Bucky.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You had the aggression, and rightly so, from Oxy, but it was just the fact that ended up giving the ult over. Buzz pops it, and from that point onwards, I was about to say, I didn't think we'd seen a Buzz ult yet, because we saw so many of them in the last map when he was playing the Yoru.
Like round 3 at the first one.
It took him a bit of time, but when it was in play, it was fantastic. The question now, though, is this the start of bringing this half back? Or is this going to be straight back to C9 taking control? Now, bear in mind, the expectation on this map is normally to see a decent attack side. Here goes Oxy again. Great dart.
Good work by Rossi to get that dart into position to trade out his teammate as well as Buzz goes down. And the numbers stay in C9's hands. Plant secured. The 4 versus 2. Izu has the ult, but it's not likely to be used.
Push more.
The man looking for impact to Stacks. Finds a kill or 2, perhaps. They can throw a bit more at this round. But it is not looking likely. Post-plant utility aplenty. Astra Star waiting for the tap to come through, and they don't even use it initially. Late round lurk as well by Moose. C9 are guaranteeing that they win this round. Playing the numbers, playing the odds.
They blocked it.
They're
trying to stick it all the way.
Luckily, just in time. The swing comes in. Plenty of players left to clean that up, and well, Moose was happy to see Izu TPing right into him.
Thank God someone was counting. Because that's the thing. A lot of the time, we see it even on the previous map where you have that grab wall, you just have the thought in your head, like, okay, that's safe. I don't need to swing, I don't need to take a risk. But I think it was just the silence. The fact that for too long, there was no utility, no move, no
I think the
fight.
recon was on the way, right? So that's sort of the logic, but they got spooked, thankfully.
These great intricate designs.
But it is another round on the board for C9.
How to make
a defeat in the last map, a surprise pick, to say the least, for T1, that they just about get over the line. Now, though, it's been a dominant start to this map.
Yes.
And everybody's been performing as well. As I said, like Oxy on the board might not like he's doing the best, but he's done his job, and then everybody else has been there to clean up the mess. Moose back on his Sentinel has been fantastic in the late round. Meteor now, though. Well, it's not the operator that we've seen. Instead, he's got that Marshall.
Got the headshot as well. The tag onto Oxy, the headshot for Rossi. And now,
repeating the process.
There's a little bit of danger brewing for that attacking side.
Over time.
Somehow I'm even considering that to be Buzz with a Bucky.
Not mentioned.
Just backing off though and conceding the space. There's not really a fight that T1 want to take at the moment, except for that Marshall swinging out. Another tag. Xeppaa and Oxy very low.
This is now very scary indeed.
I don't know.
Stacks falls back. Izu's managed to get one with the classic. The flash through is going to delay even further, and they're starting to run out of time. Oxy needs to get something, and in fact, he falls. Still yet to get that plant in, and the fact is, Moose is alone. Vic is still very far away. In fact, by the time he gets here, the clock may already be gone, and with the Cosmic Divide fading, he manages another, but he's still surrounded. Spike on the deck for Vic. I honestly saved the gun. I don't think there's any way he manages to win this. Maybe he can deny them picking up some of the guns.
There's one at least. Yeah, like you said, there's no taking the round. The Thrifty secured. And only one player to carry forward a weapon. Decent damage from Vic. Good housekeeping. It's 6-2.
So many hairs.
T1's second round now in the last 3 as well. They've been finding their footing.
That was all Meteor. Like, that's the thing. When you look back to the Gen G roster of last year, when we came into the year, and I know there's going to be people who look at how Texture played and go, well, this is a stupid comment. But going into that roster at the beginning of the year, we didn't know if Meteor would be the duelist or if Texture would, because they are both phenomenal duelist players. It just so happens that Meteor's also very good at playing the Sentinel. Funnily enough, so is Texture, but it means that you give him a sniper and he can still win you rounds, even if he doesn't necessarily have the kit to back him up.
Especially when you invest into Sheriffs alongside it. Just that one tag makes it so valuable. You saw it, Oxy emerging from a Cosmic Divide, the Astro Wall, and it just one shot to the body from that Sheriff. It was all that was needed. The setup was done by his teammate. Now 6-2, as we see C9 directing themselves into that alarm bot, held by Sylvan, but not ready for the pace. Oxy lightning fast as he makes it around that corner. A main cleared. Lots of space for the attacking side on A.
Safe to say. Okay. His Jet's always enjoyable, but his Neon just hits that little bit different. Plant denied for now. In fact, Buzz is trying to play off it. Stacks has done well. Dropped it on the deck. Now another for Buzz, putting down one more from a great start to a troublesome position.
It's even a lockdown, but Meteor